windows are back. Thank you, Nick, and thank you, Rajizi. It's good to see you. It's wild. It's already Thursday. That is wild. Zaid, hello. How's it going? As you guys see, the chat windows are back. It's me, Hosa the Demon, here to be helpful and friendly. All right. Welcome, Hosa the Demon. Hosa? Yeah, we'll go with that. Alex, this week indeed has flown by. Yeah. It has definitely flown by. Oh, you know what? I wanted to change the blooming ribbon for a jellyfish. I want to go back to that because I think folks are having a hard time finding it and they're just throwing in jellyfishes anyway. Although I'll take anything equivalent, but we'll just start with that. So let me change that up real quick. Okay. See if I can change it from here. Yes, I can. There it is. Okay. That was quick. Good. Very quick. All right. Thank you, Morgan Le Fay. So yeah, let's share out the live and let's tap the screen, get some likes going so we can get more folks in here. All right. This is going to be one-on-one Thursday. So I'm going to keep the panel to just me today. And it's a good way to kind of do a reset. It's a good way to do that. Credo, what's up? All right, so we have Craig Perry 29 in the queue. So let's just start this off. Let's get this going. Craig Perry, how's it going?
Pretty good. How are you doing?
Yeah, doing well. Can I get your age and pronouns, please?
Yeah, I'm 30, and then yeah, I'm a man. I'm a male.
Okay, that's your sex and gender. Thank you for that. Which pronouns do people most often use for you that you prefer?
Yeah, I don't really do all that kind of stuff. People know that I'm a man, and so they call me, by my name, or if they say he, or whatever. That's kind of
He?
the natural thing that happens.
Okay, I was about to use she, her, so we'll go with he. Sounds good. All right. Which God do you believe in? I want to talk to people who believe, the Christian God. Okay.
Yeah.
And then what's your best evidence that God is real?
Yeah, so just a question. So when you say atheist, do you mean like you lack belief, or some people say they're definitively sure there is no God, or what do you mean by when you say atheist?
They're polysemous, but what I mean is, I'm not convinced that any gods exist.
Okay.
So
Gotcha. And I saw in your profile you were a Christian. Was there something specifically within there that was like, okay, this is crazy, I don't believe this anymore, or like what led to your kind of deconstruction? And if you don't want to go into that, I have to go into mine, but I was just trying to get a little bit of a background on you.
Yeah, no worries. I read the Bible front to back. And all kinds of problems with it. And also from a philosophical standpoint, from an ontological standpoint, the understanding of at least the Abrahamic God is just incompatible with what we know about our reality. So there's lots of
Okay.
reasons for me to not believe it, to not be convinced. So what do you got for us?
Okay, cool. Yeah, so I would say I'm convinced that the resurrection was a historical event. And so, happy to kind of walk through that. But what would
Okay.
you need? Yeah, what would there be something you would need to convince you? Like if let's say we found out like provable fact that the resurrection was true, would you then believe in a God, or would you still need more? Or I
Yeah,
guess
I
what
believe
would
in a
you need?
God. That would move
Okay,
the needle significantly. And
okay,
so, evidence for me is, and I think this is a pretty, like, from a philosophical standpoint, and also in many other disciplines like legal and whatnot, evidence is something that increases the probability of an assertion to be true. So,
okay.
like for example, my wife, coming home from work, I have evidence that she's going to be home from work today, right?
Hmm.
And there's many things that increase the probability of that being true. So it doesn't mean I 100% know, because anything can happen, but I have a very high confidence level that she will be home from work today.
Okay, gotcha, gotcha. Um, yeah, so I guess just to kind of walk through the the ways that I believe it's most likely would be I think it's pretty much historical consensus that a Jesus of Nazareth was a real person, just like Socrates was real, stripping away the miracles and all that, but that there would be a scholarly consensus, even among secular scholars, that there
Okay.
was a historical Jesus.
Okay.
Um, and then he was crucified under Pontius Pilate. And then there was, and this is a little bit shakier, but it's more of like 75% consensus would be there was an empty tomb after his crucifixion. And then the last part would be that the same scholars would say that his disciples, his followers, believe that they did see the risen Jesus. Doesn't mean that he did rise, but they were at least convinced that they saw the risen Jesus. And so happy to kind of go through as much of that as you want, but that
Okay.
to me is kind of like more likely that it was a historical event than not.
Okay. So I put it on a notepad. Is that about right? You see
Let
above
me
my
take
head?
a look. Historical resurrection. Jesus was a real person, crucified under empty tomb. Yeah, that looks good.
Okay. All right. So we can do a bit of a comparative analysis on the first one. Jesus was a real person. Oh, wait, here. Let me number these so I don't get the historical resurrection. That's more like a title. So I just don't want to get that mixed up. So we'll just number these real quick just so we can see the difference. Okay. So the first one, Jesus was a real person. Okay.
Hmm.
So we have evidence that Buddha was a real person. So that means Buddha achieved nirvana?
No, not necessarily.
Okay, so Jesus being a real person doesn't mean resurrection, so we can cross that one off the
Correct.
list, right? Okay.
Correct. Yep.
Okay. Jesus was crucified under Pontius Pilate. All right.
Hmm.
Okay. And then Nero, the Emperor Nero died, and the resurrected Nero was said to. We have evidence that the resurrected Nero went to the Parthian Empire to draw an army, and they met with him, and they're willing to give him an army. So does that mean does that mean that Nero was resurrected?
Well, what would be the evidence around where people like claim that, or like is that historically attested to that
Yeah, it's historically
people actually
attested to.
believed it?
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Um,
that means Nero resurrected, right?
okay. Well, I'm just as we're speaking, I'm looking that up. So it says the Nero Redivius resurrected Nero is a
The
theory in
Emperor
the ancient.
Nero. Yeah, the Emperor
Yeah.
Nero,
Yeah.
and then went to the Parthians, which is another empire that was a rival of Rome, to to uh, to take command of the Roman as Roman emperor again. So
Okay.
and the Parthians
So,
were going to give the Emperor Nero, well, the resurrected Nero, an army. So that means Nero resurrected.
So what I'm reading here is saying that this theory is an ancient world's version of Elvis is still alive conspiracy. So it doesn't really seem like that is something that would be what most scholars would say is even a possibility. It's more like how people talk today about Elvis being alive. Like, yeah, I mean, there's some people that might say that, but the scholarly consensus would be like it's so ridiculous that we wouldn't even consider people who are scholars that
Okay.
believe that to be in our community.
What standard did the scholars use to determine that?
Let's see here. Let's see. I mean, this might take me a minute just to pull
Yeah,
it
that's
up.
fine. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Because
Yeah,
because
thank you.
I'm wondering if they use the same standards as they did for Jesus, or like.
Yeah, and that's fair. No, it's a good question. Let's see here. Um, okay, so it says critics argue that the Book of Revelation wasn't a prediction of the future of Nero, but a reflection of the past. The physical corpse evidence, unlike the resurrection of Jesus, where they're missing assets like the empty tomb, Nero's death was witnessed by credible Roman officials. And then it says the burial, his remains were handled and buried by the royal mistress, uh, one of his nurses. It gives her name and says there was never an empty tomb for Nero. The rumors of his survival were fueled by the fact that the public didn't see his body, but the adjusters on the ground, the Roman guards and staff knew the claim was settled.
Okay, so they didn't see. So the public didn't see his body. Just like, okay, so that actually goes to 3. So the public didn't see his body, just like they saw an empty tomb.
Correct. I would just say that just that last part of the sentence was, but the adjusters on the ground, meaning the
Uh huh.
Roman guards and staff,
Hmm.
knew the claim was settled. So I
Okay.
don't think right now the scholars or anybody would say that it's been settled that Jesus is like his body was found or that he for sure was dead. It's more like a agnostic position. Like
Got it.
we don't have an explanation for where the body went.
Got it. Okay. Okay. So all right. So we're probably so number 2. Actually, we have we do have some historical evidence that Jesus was crucified under Pontius Pilate. Um. So okay, that's fine. So if we go back to the empty tomb, um, so you're saying so there's a consensus among scholars that there was an empty tomb. Which scholars?
No, no, I wouldn't say it's not a consensus. I would say that of all the ones that I gave is the least verified, we'll say, but it is still a majority of the scholars in the ancient world that look at these would say that it is more likely or at least plausible or could be historically attested to that there was an empty tomb. Now
Could
that's
be
not as
historically
unanimous.
attested to.
Well, I would say could be in the sense that just trying to give credence to, like, it is a historic consensus in the fact that like people really are not doubting. I mean, you have one or two fringe people of the historical Jesus and then the crucifixion, and it might be a 75% consensus that would say there was an empty tomb. So there's still that
Okay.
25% that is unsure.
Okay. So far we've got here. I'll put back the Jesus existed was real. We'll put that one back. Well, so far we got Jesus was real. Jesus was crucified. There was an empty tomb. And okay, so just taking those 3 alone, how does that demonstrate God is real? Just those 3. Because I'm looking at because you gave me 4 pieces of evidence, so I
Right.
want to take them one at a time, and I'm just working with you to see if they move the needle at all, like increase the
Yeah.
probability that God is real, right? So,
Yeah.
how in your mind, how do these 3 increase the probability that God is real?
Well, I would say it's building up to the eventual like thesis or belief that it's more likely than not. But you'll hear some people that will say like, well, Jesus never existed, right? And so if Jesus never existed, then he could never have obviously raised from the dead. So it's
Okay,
trying to like move off of that. And then some people say, well, he wasn't crucified, whatever. And it's kind of like just building up to the skeptics that would say these things aren't historical facts.
okay,
But
gotcha.
they are,
Okay.
type thing.
Now,
So.
typically what I do, I usually do I do like a pretty strong pushback on number 3, but today I won't do that. So we'll move on to number 4. So
Okay.
disciples believe they did see the risen Jesus, and how do we know that's true?
Well, again, these would be the secular scholars, and of course, it's Christian scholars as well that are looking at all of, going back in time and trying to make a conclusion of historical facts, that
Okay.
there is a near consensus that these are the disciples believe that they saw the risen Jesus. That would be something that's kind of like yeah, they all feel comfortable with saying that that is something that they would risk their careers behind. That there was a historical disciples that believed that they saw the risen Christ. Not that they did, but that they at least were convinced that there was a risen Christ that
Okay.
visited them.
Well, but I think what I'm asking is because you said that there's historical evidence that they believe this, and what is that historical evidence?
Yeah, let me see here. I know at least it's from the Gospels. Let me see if there's anything
Mm-hmm.
outside of the Gospels.
Yeah,
I
and
don't
that,
think
and I think, and then that,
there might
because
not
then
be. Yeah,
my next question would be, how do we know the Gospels are true? Like, how do we verify that to be true?
yeah, and I would just say again, I mean, the historical, the scholars would say like, well, we don't necessarily can't verify like the miracles that are in there, but there are things that are still true about like, was James the brother of Jesus? Was Mary
Uh-huh.
the mother of Jesus? Like, was Jesus a historical figure? Just like if I were to write a biography, like Donald Trump was a president. These were his five children, and he also made miracles of turning water into wine. It's like, well, the miracles aren't true, but it was still true that he had those five children. So I think, again, these scholars would say, we're not going to touch the miracles, but we still believe in the historicity of some of the events that were recorded in the Gospels. And
Okay.
there's, four of them.
Well, yeah, I agree with you. There are some historical facts in the Gospels, in the Bible. All right. There are also historical facts in the Quran. So does that mean that Muhammad flew to heaven on a winged horse?
No, no, it
Okay.
doesn't mean that.
So it doesn't really automatically correlate, right? It doesn't automatically apply. So
Right.
they're kind
Yeah.
of those two are. So what we would do, you would agree that even though that there is a historical place called Medina, there is a historical place called Mecca, right?
Right. Yeah.
And some people, because there are other individuals in the Quran and the Hadiths that we can historically verify existed.
Right.
We would take those separate from the claim that Muhammad flew to heaven on a winged horse and Allah split the moon, right? We would take those
Correct.
separately, right? And
Yeah.
so number 4 we would likewise take separately because this talks about a risen Jesus, which is an extraordinary claim, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
But they could still be convinced. Like the people that were. I mean, I know the Quran was written by Muhammad or whatever, but or if other people still believed that they saw Muhammad fly up, they we could still historically attest to the fact that they believe that. Now, whether or not he did
Yeah,
or
they
not,
believed it.
that's
Yeah.
right. They
Believe
believed it.
they
Yeah.
did
So
see the
that's what it
reason.
is.
Okay. So
Right. Yeah.
so
Exactly.
so if I hear what you're saying that it's a fact that the disciples believed that
Correct.
part, not the risen
Correct.
Jesus part. They believe they saw
Correct.
the risen Jesus. Okay.
Exactly right. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. So then the next question, so then this is where I would push back. So what independent evidence outside of the Bible do we have that all 12 of the disciples existed?
Well, I don't know about all that off the top of my head. I mean, I could probably look that up. I'm sure there are. There might be, there might not be. But again, I still think that the historians would say that there were disciples, whether there was 12, whether there was 8. There was certainly a following of people around Jesus who did believe that they saw the risen Christ. Doesn't mean
Yeah.
he did rise, um, but I think like James is somebody that for sure has been historically tested to. Peter has been. John
We have
has
evidence
been.
of it. Yeah. We have
I don't know
evidence
about
of
the other
James, the brother
ones.
of Jesus. We have evidence of
Right.
Peter, and
Right.
that's it. That's all we have evidence of. We don't have evidence of the other 10. So
Okay.
we don't know. Yeah, you're right. It could have been 8. It could have been 2. It could have been 80.
Sure. Right.
But, we can't
Exactly.
verify that there was 10. And
Sure.
so, like the whole thing with Thomas, the doubting Thomas, feeling the holes, no verification that happened. We
That's
don't
fine.
even know if
Yeah,
that
that's
happened,
fine.
right?
That's fair. That's fair.
Yeah. And so, but really all we have to go on is the Bible to support number 4. We don't really have any independent outside confirmation that
And
disciples
I
did believe this.
and I think the scholars who have thought that through and have wrestled with that still say that they would again stake their reputations on that that was still a historical event, even though it was
Mm-hmm.
just written in the Gospels. Just
Mm-hmm.
like I said earlier, I mean, if I wrote a story about Donald Trump and his 5 kids, it would still be, and I had a bunch of other random stuff in there that wasn't true. It would
Okay.
still be a historical fact that he had 5 kids,
Okay.
that kind of thing.
All right. So so you're saying, well, the historians are the scholars are betting their careers on this, so it must be true that God is real.
Not that God is real, but it is, it would be outside of consensus to say that Jesus wasn't real. He wasn't crucified, that his followers didn't believe they saw the risen Christ. And then again,
Mm-hmm.
75% scholarship that would say the empty tomb. So
Yeah.
that would fall outside of consensus. Now, that doesn't mean that Jesus rose from the dead. It just means that those are at least kind of the starting point
Okay.
to like now investigating, did Jesus actually rise or not?
Okay. So does belief in seeing the risen Jesus mean that Jesus rose from the dead
No,
in your mind? Okay.
no, it
So
doesn't.
okay. So they could have believed it. They could have all been, because again, we don't know if it's 2 or 10 or 80. We just know disciples. So it's possible that these disciples could be mistaken.
It could be, yes. And I can check and see what this scholarship would say on how many disciples there were if you want me to look that up. Because if it's two, then that's going to be like, well, it's just two people saying a thing. But if it's like, well, they think it was 20, I mean,
We have,
because there's also women as well that that's one of the arguments as well.
that's
It's
the
like,
claim. We don't know if that's true.
that's the claim. That's true. But the claim would be that women were saying that they saw the risen Christ as well. And so it wasn't just like two people. It would have been multiple people. I can
Right.
look up and see how many people that was.
Right. But again, for all we know, it could have just been two people following him around. And, it could have just been Peter and James, and that's it. And he could have had just two followers. And now that's unlikely because it's the likelihood of him having that few followers and then the Pharisees wanting him executed, pretty low,
Mm-hmm.
unless they were that big of hard asses on the fact that he was, because he was executed for blasphemy, right, according to the Jews. So if
I could,
that's the case, yeah. So I mean, if only two people are following him around and he's making all these outlandish claims that he's the Messiah, and if they just wanted to nip it in the bud, I guess that's possible, but it would seem more likely to me that he did have a following. So I mean, yeah, I'm inclined to agree that these folks, that there was a lot bigger following than just two people, right?
okay,
And yeah, I'm inclined to believe that. Where I can't really go is whether or not they actually saw a risen Jesus, because we don't have
that's
any
fair.
evidence of that. Yeah, we don't have any evidence of that.
No, yeah,
Except
that's
it's a
fair.
claim in the Bible. Yeah.
Well, claim in the historically attested to, Bible. We'll say that, that kind of type
Historically
thing.
attested to. Well, because even if you look at the historical records of, like, say, Josephus, right, who talks about Peter, because that's like,
he doesn't
probably
talk about.
he doesn't talk about whether or not they believe they saw the risen Jesus. He just called them a disciple. So we don't really have evidence that they believe they saw the risen Jesus, aside from the claim in the Bible. So
right,
yeah.
But what I would say to that though is historians have factored all that in and still said, with almost unanimous consensus, we believe these are historically attested to facts that are written in the Gospels. Like, strip out the theology of the Gospels and anything in there that might be incorrect. We still would, again, the entire community that's built its own reputation would say we still believe that the disciples, and I looked it up as well. They do think it was a 12.
Okay.
And I know you kind of granted that, but the idea was,
I'm not pushing back on that really hard. Yeah,
no, for sure. I just wanted to confirm what you said.
Yeah, and that's fine. That's fine. But I guess, okay.
So just to finish the point is, like, I wouldn't just say like, well, the Bible says this, so it's true. I would just say, well, the historians that have looked at it, not to repeat myself, agree that these are historically attested to facts. It isn't just Bible stuff. It's like stuff that's historical that happens to be written in the Bible.
Yeah.
Or the Gospels, I should say.
Well, okay. Well, because I think, starting with the four like premises you've made, it seems like there's several that need to be filled in here to get to the conclusion that God is real.
Okay.
I mean, are you with me
Which
on that?
are?
Because I don't
Yeah,
know.
no, that's fine.
I don't know because I don't know. I don't believe that God is real. I don't know what these premises would be. I'm just saying there's a huge gap here from these four. Jesus was real. Jesus was crucified under Pontius Pilate, empty tomb. Disciples believe they saw the risen Jesus. They did see the risen Jesus. To God is real. It just seems like it's a huge God of the gaps argument. So we've got this huge gap here. That's all I'm saying.
Well,
I don't
yeah,
know
and
how many
that's
premises need to be here. I just kind of took a stab at it and just threw four in here, but it could
right.
be one or two more. It could be 20 more. I don't know, but there needs to be a lot more here than because this doesn't move the needle. I mean, we have to be honest.
Yeah, and that's fine. And I think this is where like kind of the argument begins in a sense. Like, okay, we've agreed to these historically tested facts. You may
Yeah, even if I grant them, yeah,
quibble with
I'll just
some, but even if you grant
yeah.
them, let's say you
Mm-hmm.
grant them, now it's like, okay, what happened? And so
Yeah.
again, just going to like the scholarly consensus, it's pretty much. I mean, you may have some like Bart Ehrman, you might have heard of him. He'll believe in like the bereavement hallucination that
Mm-hmm.
the disciples, believed that they saw him in a kind of a delusion, and then they went about and went their way. But again, that's still even a small amount of people that believe that. Really, the just amongst secular, not even Christian, would say we don't know, because some of the thing would be like, well, did the body get stolen? Or did the disciples
Yeah.
decide just to like lie about all this? But even that, the secular scholars would say like these are less likely. Like these don't fall. Like these are not legit. You can say legitimate, but these are very unlikely to be the case. Now they would all say
Okay.
the resurrection is unlikely, but the other arguments of, well, it was a mass delusion, they just don't think that would be likely. Well, the body was stolen. Well, they don't think that would be likely. So then what are we left with?
I got
And
you.
is it, yeah, and then what I would say is I believe it's most likely that it was a resurrection. And again, you might say it's a delusion, but that's kind of where the kind of argument begins, like I said. And I'm
Okay.
happy to go into my why I do believe it was the resurrection, but I don't want to keep talking if you have something to say.
Oh, we can. I mean, we can go into why you think there was a resurrection. We might have
Yeah,
wanted to start with that, but we kind of spent 23 minutes on this, but we could, yeah, we can, because that might be the different gaps here. Because I mean, you would
right.
agree that demonstrating that there was a resurrection, that would be way more important than demonstrating all of this, right?
No, I agree.
Yeah, because the other thing is that it would imply that Jesus actually existed, right? Because if he wasn't
Right.
real, then there was no resurrection. So we would just
Exactly.
say, assuming all these four happened, we would just go there. But I kind of see where you're going because, probably people would push back on you, on the first four. But
Exactly.
all right,
Yeah.
let's just say that these four things are true. All right, let's just say these four things are true. I'll grant that for the sake of this conversation. We got about 6 minutes left. So
Okay, cool.
what would be then the premise that the resurrection happened?
Yeah, and I appreciate you letting me walk through that because you're right. A lot of people do the pushback, so I just
Yeah.
wanted to get there. So what I would say would be this. So again, the fact that it's been historically tested that women said that they saw the risen Christ back then, women's testimony was worth basically nothing. So why would, and again, these don't mean like he for sure rose from the dead, but this is just what I'm going with. So why would a woman, why was her testimony given any kind of credence unless it was like totally ironclad and you could just, stake your life on it basically.
Now
So say that's one
yeah.
thing.
Okay, but
And then
now
I've got a couple
here's the
more, but keep going.
okay. Well, let's just start with this one because here's the problem with this. We don't have an independent verification that these women actually saw what they saw, right? Because they didn't write anything down, right? Nobody directly interviewed them, and we didn't get a name. It just says women, right? That's what it says
Right.
in the Bible, right? And it is a part of the New Testament in which it's one part of the story, which Christians will say, well, if you take the three different versions of the story, it makes it into one complete story. Okay, so let's just take that all by itself. That the women's testimony, as it says in one of the Gospels, okay. And then there's a contention of whether or not they actually went into the tomb or if there was an angel sitting on the rock, telling them that he is risen. I mean, there's a
Right.
there's a discrepancy there. But the women's testimony, the bottom line is we cannot independently verify that they actually saw what they saw. And are you familiar then with the concept of like hearsay testimony?
Sure. Yeah,
Okay.
I understand. I could conceptualize what that means. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is hearsay. And, in many instances, hearsay, I just had a talk with this about a lawyer yesterday who was agnostic. And we went into like all what makes hearsay testimony like admissible versus inadmissible. And he said that, and of course this is hearsay, so take this, for what it's worth. But he did say it is, for most cases, it is inadmissible with some exceptions. So there's like a very narrow exceptions for hearsay testimony. And I would say that this, it's a claim in the Bible and we cannot independently verify it. So we really don't know if they saw anything.
So I typed in this prompt. Do historians believe women believed they saw the risen Christ, or was it hearsay testimony? And what it's saying here is, in a historical sense, it is treated as direct testimony and later recorded. And then it goes into the source for the audit, all four corporate filings. The gospel agree that the women were the first on the scene, even the earliest pre-Pauline creed, 1 Corinthians 15. While it skips the women on the list, the male executives like Peter acknowledge the sequence of events.
Okay.
So yeah.
So again, we do not have the women's direct testimony. That's the point I'm trying to make. So what's more powerful? What something saying women saw this, or the women actually themselves saying I saw this? What's more powerful?
Well,
what's more credible?
Definitely it's more credible, but it isn't not credible because, again, just falling back on
I'm not
the
saying it's not credible, because like I said,
you're right. More credible. Yeah,
I'm looking at evidence that increases the probability of something to be true, right?
Sure.
And so again, so if you tell me, hey, you telling me Dave saw Johnny levitating and spit fire versus you telling me I saw Johnny levitate and spit fire, I would be way more inclined to believe you than I would telling me that Dave told me. You see what I mean?
I know, I agree. Like,
okay.
We 100% agree. Like, if I saw a crime and someone witnessed a crime and they told me they saw it versus if I had a camera, I'd obviously be more inclined to see the camera recording of it. But it wouldn't mean that someone telling it to me doesn't mean it was real. No, so you're right.
I'm not dismissing. I'm just saying it just doesn't. It doesn't increase the probability. It just keeps me right here. Okay.
Okay. Well, that's fair. That's fair.
Okay.
I agree. I know we got a minute left.
Yeah. Yeah. I think we have time for one more. Yeah. If you want to do one more.
Yeah. So, and then the other thing would be that that the whole idea, and we could probably debate this for longer than a minute, but the disciples going out and actually believing that they saw the risen Christ would kill the idea that it was a lie, because to make up a lie and then go to your death for it is just so unlikely. And again, the scholars would say that's not even something that would be likely, that you would go to something for a lie. So it would have had to been like a bereavement where they've had a delusion. But again, the scholars say that the bereavement isn't really a high likelihood. So why would these people go about and say to their death that they saw the risen Christ if it was a delusion or a lie? Like, it just doesn't make any sense to me.
Now, if they didn't know it was a delusion, is it,
well, that's fair.
Are they yeah, so they wouldn't be lying, right? Necessarily.
Correct.
They would just be mistaken. Be lying. Yeah.
They would be mistaken. And then I'd fall on the scholars would say that the delusion is not likely.
Okay. So the delusion is not likely. And then what is that based on? Like, what evidence is that based on?
Well, I mean, I could look that up, but they would just say 12 at least people plus women plus other people. There was the mention of the 500 all having the same delusion. Is the chances of that happening is less likely than it being likely. Okay.
So last question.
Doesn't mean it didn't happen, but yeah, go ahead.
All right. So last question before we start the kick pull. So that means then that when in the Old Testament, when 60,000 Hebrews saw the face of God, does that mean we should all convert to Judaism?
Well, no, because I would say that Jesus rose from the dead and he's God, and the Jewish people today, as far as I know, don't say that he's the Messiah. But to answer your question directly, yeah, go ahead.
Well, I'm just saying, because that's what Jews have come into my life they've used that reason to say, and that's why we should all be Jews. That's why Judaism is the
Yeah.
true religion. That's what demonstrates that, because 60,000 Hebrews, ancient Hebrews, saw the face of God, and and they use the same exact reason you just used.
Well, I
You
guess my
can't have a
answer
mass
to that,
delusion like that. Yeah. So,
I guess my answer to that question is, and I'd have to go through and look at all. Like you can tell, like I've tried to do some research on the historical resurrection
mhm.
of Jesus. I would have to do the historical kind of rigor that I've done here. But let's just grant it all. I would say that personally, that would mean that again, if I were to grant it all, and that we believe then I would say that yeah, I would believe that's true, and that was a true event that happened in the Old Testament. So I believe that event happened. But I also would lean everything on Christ and say, okay, well, that was true in the Old Testament, and then Christ came with this new covenant, and so I'm going to believe him and follow him, and I'm
Okay.
not going to stay within Judaism. I'm going
Okay.
to follow him because I believe he's
Okay.
the
So
Messiah.
you would just believe it both, yet they would say, and then that tells us that Judaism is the true religion, means the Messiah has not come yet. Okay, poll is open, everybody. So that's what they would tell you. That's what they would say. So you can conclude, well, yeah, I'm just going to choose to believe both, and then that still tells me that Christianity is true. But then they would tell you, well, no, it's not, because this happened, and that tells us that Judaism is true.
Well,
And
they would say that they don't believe Jesus rose from the dead, and then
yeah,
I'd go through the same exercise I went through with you right now,
yeah,
because I don't think that event negates the resurrection. I think that's a separate, independent event, and then the
no,
resurrection is a separate, independent event.
right, okay. So any type of claim of mass witnesses, you're saying is true, right? So if we take anything from history that has like a large number of witnesses of it occurring, is true.
No, I would just say that's why I would say like I'd have to
Okay,
go and like look at exactly what happened of what
then
you're referring to.
all right.
But I don't think the mass delusion. I think that the point is like I'm not the one who's saying mass delusion. Like I personally don't believe it was a mass delusion, but even like the consensus of secular scholars say it wasn't a mass delusion. Like the ones that have studied it way more than I
I'm
have.
okay. All
Now
right.
they may not say there's a resurrection, but they're at least not saying that there was a mass delusion.
Okay. All right. Well, let's see. Looks like YouTube voted 85% to go to the next guest. And you narrowly
Okay.
passed on TikTok, but take the two together and we got a pretty
Okay.
narrow uh
No worries.
move on. But hey, Craig,
Well, thank you
appreciate
for
you.
having me.
Yeah, yeah, gotcha. Appreciate you coming up. All right.
All
Have a
right.
good
Best of
day.
luck with your
All
channel.
right.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Bye
thanks.
bye.
All right. I'll pull Godless up real quick. Hey, Godless.
Hey,
Hey,
yeah, uh,
I
I
saw
was
you. I saw you in there, but I was like, nah, I got this. It's all good.
no, no, yeah,
but
that's totally fine. No,
but
the
yeah,
only
yeah,
thing that
yeah. Say your piece exactly.
well, the only thing I was going to add there was just that he was trying to use the criterion of embarrassment for the women at the tomb,
Mm-hmm.
and that comes with a lot of different problems. So,
Yes, it
like
does.
the first problem with the criterion of embarrassment is you have to know what is embarrassing to these, the people that were writing this, right? So it's like you have to ask yourself, well, would this be embarrassing? Like women finding the tomb, would they consider that embarrassing? And did they have chances to change it? And so when you answer that first part, it would actually be theme breaking if they had the men find the tomb, because there's in the Gospel of Mark and all the Gospels, really, Jesus teaches this whole "the least shall be first" sort of theme,
Mm-hmm.
and for the women at that time, like given what the guest said, for the women at that time to be the first ones to find Jesus, that plays perfectly into one of Jesus's teachings, and that the meek shall inherit the earth, the least shall be the most favored in heaven, and everything, right?
Right.
And so that follows in line theologically with it. And then there's, did they have the chance to change it if that were the case? And we, especially with the Gospel of Mark, we see that they did change the ending of the Gospel of Mark, but they didn't change that aspect of the ending. Like
Mm-hmm.
they added on to it. And so it's it's rather interesting how they're convinced by that. Oh, sorry. And then there's the fact that women's testimony was trusted at that time. We've got statements from Josephus where he directly takes women's testimony in order to fill out some of his history and stuff like that. So, like, we've got direct evidence of women's testimony being trusted. The only place where they weren't necessarily requested or needed or seen to be would be like in court, and this is far from a court case, but even then you had instances where women's testimony was used in court. It was
Mm-hmm.
just like very infrequent.
Yeah, it was infrequent, but yeah, it happened. I mean, yeah, but it was accepted in the Roman Empire. So yeah, totally agree with you on all that. And I think it's all, all that said, I think it's a non-starter because when you look at the fact that it's just a claim in the Bible and we cannot independently verify it, I know he was sitting on, oh, well, the scholars say it's true. Well, that doesn't really mean anything, right? It in terms of we, if they're just kind of carrying this forward, because this does happen a lot, they just kind of carry this piece forward and they just accept it as true. Well, we've got newer scholars who say, well, wait, we can't verify that this is true. And if you actually talk to a scholar, they will actually say, well, I mean, no, we cannot verify that to be true. And so it's hearsay, so that just doesn't increase the because the ground I laid with him was something that would increase the probability of this being true. And none of what he brought increased the probability at all. So
No,
that's just where I
yeah.
was coming from. Yeah.
Yeah, and in these discussions, it's I feel like it's critical for people to understand. I'm not telling you to inform you of this, but more or less like anybody who might be listening,
Oh,
is that
I'm listening. Yeah.
there's actually two different classes of scholars in the New Testament field, right? There are the theologically and dogmatically adhering scholars that are from like, seminary diploma mills and, divinity schools that, are just
I
there
just call
to
them
protect the faith.
apologists. Yeah.
Right. There's them, but then there's a segment called critical New Testament scholars, and those are
Mm-hmm.
the ones you're going to want to look for on this. It's like critical New Testament scholars, they do not agree that the criterion of embarrassment is good in
Right.
this situation. So, yeah, it's critical to understand the divide on that and being able
Exactly.
to identify them.
Yeah. And, here's the other piece to it, because there is also this misunderstanding of what evidence is. Like, because like I said, it's to increase the probability of something being true. That doesn't mean that the person looking, like the skeptic, has to refute all the evidence in order for it not to be true, right? That doesn't mean that. All it means is that if it doesn't, it just has to move the needle. And again, none of that moved the needle. And so that was the other position I took, is that I'm just like, okay, I'm waiting for something to move the needle, and none of this did. And I think what people think has to happen is that I have to go in and I have to refute all of it in order for me to strike down anything, because then they'll say, well, see, he didn't strike any of that down. So see, that proves God is real. No, it doesn't prove God is real, because now you're at a fallacious position, because what you're doing is you're presupposing God is real and then putting in evidence as a backfill. And you're saying, well, because Jesus was real and he was crucified under Pontius Pilate and there were women's testimony and empty tomb and the disciples believed that they wouldn't die for a lie. And, that's not how that works. You look at the evidence, because that's how I laid it out the exact way I laid it out, because you look at the premises first and then you look at the conclusion. But what the problem is that a lot of theists will start with the conclusion and then backfill with the premises and then say, see, that proves it all. We have all this stuff. No, you don't. Because again, none of the premises, move the needle, A, and then B, he still had to contend with this huge gap between, and then God is real. Right.
Right.
So yeah.
Yeah, and I think that this plays upon a common issue that a lot of apologists and people that argue for God fall into, and that's this the fact that they think that God existing is the default answer. Like by
Yeah.
default, God exists, and then atheists have to disprove that.
Oh
And so,
yeah.
like when they bring forth these claims from like the New Testament or something like that, they're like, well, unless you can refute just like what you were saying, unless you can refute every single claim of the New Testament, therefore God exists. But it's like,
Right.
no. See, you have the claim here. You're shouldering the burden of proof
Exactly.
there.
Exactly. That's exactly 100% right. And so that was the position I was taking. So
No, yeah,
Yeah,
and
I'm
I
with
thought
you.
you did great. I thought you did great responding to those. I think
Thanks.
is pretty succinct and simple, and I think that's really all people need to do in order to refute it. I definitely wasn't coming up because I thought that you were doing anything wrong. I'm
Oh,
like,
no,
oh,
no, no. I know.
I have
I
some
know.
extra information to add here.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah. I know you. That wasn't your intent. I know that. But like I said, I was just like, oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Because I was gonna hit home here in just a moment, and so I was like, no, I'll bring Godless up afterwards. We'll do like an afterwards commentary. Yeah,
Oh, no, yeah,
because
that's totally fine.
yeah.
And, but yeah, but I'll go ahead and I'll drop down. I'll
Okay,
be listening and everything like that. And
appreciate you,
I
brother.
hope you have fun. And I've got to get ready for a live stream I'm doing tonight. I've got
Oh,
Richard Courier on.
oh, right on.
Uh,
Okay,
yeah,
right on.
so
Well, we'll be
I'm gonna be
well.
doing that.
Awesome, man. Well, good luck with that, and everybody follow Godless Engineer because
Yeah.
he some great stuff, and he is like well entrenched on YouTube because I watched him way before I even got onto TikTok, and so if you're in the TikTok world, you don't know who GE is. If you go over to YouTube, you'll see all of his stuff, and it's fantastic stuff. So, well, I appreciate you again, man, and good luck
Yeah.
tonight.
Thank you. All right. I'll see you
See
later.
you. All right, see you. Yeah. So, yeah. So I think that's just it. You don't start with the with the premise, or you don't start with the conclusion. You have to get to the conclusion, and I think that's what we were trying to do. So, all right, let's bring up the next guest. Ancient Future Now. How's it going?
Good.
Good, good. Can I get your age and pronouns, please?
36, male.
Male? Okay, that's your sex. So what pronouns do you typically want
Just
people to use for you?
Just he, him. Doesn't
Okay,
matter.
fantastic. All right. And which God do you believe in?
In our simplicity, we would call it God. So God, who is creator, source.
Okay, so this is a mind that created the universe?
Yeah, superior to mind, but yeah.
Okay. All right. And what's the best evidence that this God exists?
So there are only a few ways to find God. One of them is through sincere meditation, looking within yourself,
How do we know
not
that?
looking at your senses. It's an experiential thing. You're not going to be able to prove that personal journey to someone outside of yourself.
Okay. Is like knowing our mothers an experiential thing? Like, do we have to know our mothers through meditation or?
Well, like the way that your father perceives your mother is not going to be the same way that you perceive her. So you'll never really be able to know her.
I'll never really be able to know her. Okay.
From your interpretation, you will, yeah.
Would I know she's real?
Yeah.
Okay. So can we know God in the same way that we know our moms?
There's two sides of your mother. There's your interpretation, and then there's also who she is as an entirety, how she perceives herself, how her mother perceives her.
Regardless of the sides, is she real?
Yeah, the whole thing is real, yeah. You're only seeing one side.
Okay, so back to God. Can we know God is real using the same method?
Yes.
We can?
Yes.
Okay, so how come I don't know who God is?
Well, because you're seeing God from one side, which is oftentimes our senses and our mind.
But I just asked you, can I see God in the same method that I know my mother is real? And you said yes.
Like with your eyes?
Five senses? Yeah.
No, you cannot. No.
Okay, and why not?
God is superior to eyesight and the five senses.
And how do we know that? How do we know that?
By looking away from our senses.
By looking away from our, I don't know what that means. What does that mean?
Yeah, so for example, beauty. 10 men look at one woman as an example. They're going to see her differently. One man sees her as beautiful until she opens her mouth, no longer perceives her as beautiful. There's no real such thing as beauty. So when we look at something and say, well, that's beautiful, really that's just your relationship with that object.
Okay, well that's beauty. Yeah. That's okay, but that's not the same as knowing a being. That's what I'm trying to get at. That's really not that's not an equivalent. Yeah, but how do we know it's multidimensional? Like how did you figure that out?
Because you know that beauty's not real. You know that flavor is not real, like the preference of chocolate versus peanut butter. Or like a
Okay.
hammer. If I give you a hammer, you're going to say it serves a function according to what your mind says. But if you give it to a dog, it's not a hammer.
I don't
If
know
you put it in a
how.
fire,
Okay, I don't know how
it's
any of
not a
this is
hammer.
relevant to God being real, though. How is any of that relevant to God being real?
That God is that multidimensionality that precedes our senses. It precedes our mind.
Okay, so God is that multidimensionality that precedes our senses. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
and so take me again. How we know that's true? How do you know that's true? So God is the okay, whatever you said. How do you know
Yeah,
that's true?
there's only a few
Multidimensional.
ways.
Yeah.
There's a few ways to get there. There is through looking within, not to the point where you fall asleep. You have to be present
Okay.
until your five senses become one. See
Until
what
your
you're
five
seeing and what you're
senses
hearing.
become one.
Yeah, everything that you see, everything that you hear, everything that you think is all the same substance. They're just divided multidimensionally. So, like, where your mind comes from is because of the reality you're experiencing. What your eyesight sees is the reality. What you hear is the reality. What your heart reacts to is the reality. It's all the same thing. It's just divided through you.
Okay. This sounds like a whole lot of like new age, you know, like
It's ancient. Yeah, it's not.
mumbo
It's the yin
jumbo.
and the yang. Yeah, it's not going to be what Christians believe in because they don't read their book. It's you have to go into
That part I
life.
agree with. Yeah, Christians don't read their book. That I agree with. Yeah. But
Yeah.
what I'm looking for though is because see, none of this sounds like a lot of trust me, bro. Like I'm looking for evidence. Yeah. And I don't know if you heard what I was saying to the last guest, but evidence is something that increases the probability of an assertion to be true. Right. And so I'm like, I don't understand what, making all your senses into one means.
Right.
That just seems like, yeah, it just seems very, I don't know, it just seems very esoteric and,
Right. I hear you.
like,
Yeah. The evidence.
flowery and colorful and, poetic. That's what it sounds like.
Right. Yeah. It's going to sound that way initially, but it's a journey that is. Again, I said there's several ways to get to it. Which one would be meditation? Another one would be
Okay.
through letting go. I can hear the impatience, but letting go of the idea of fear and money and going off into the world because the reality you're experiencing is not separate from yourself. What you call life, what you call earth, this conversation, it's all the same thing. And it's all a relationship with ourselves. It's only darkness and light. It's only shadows and light.
Okay.
Knowledge. it's
I'm
it's
just
a
hearing a lot
journey.
of, I'm just hearing a lot of like terms and colloquialisms and things like that. I mean, like, again, it sounds poetic and flowery.
Yeah.
It sounds cool.
Yeah. Have you heard of the Tao?
Oh yeah. I've read the Tao Te Ching. So I know what that is and I've studied it. And, it's like this universal life force kind of in a way, right? It's like a very, very, very general way of putting it, like an extreme elevator pitch way of putting it, but there's a lot more to it. All right. Yeah, there's a lot more to it. But again, how do we know that's real?
Well, it's kind of like saying, like, does up actually exist without down? Or does heat, like, does a
Based on our
fire actually
perception.
perceive its own flame?
Yeah, based on our perception,
right.
But there's really no up in the universe, right?
Exactly. And does left actually exist without right?
Yeah, it's based on our perception. Yeah.
So there's this underlying...
And like we're like our relation to our position on Earth, right? But I mean, in terms of if we were like floating in space, there is no left, right, up, down. You're right.
Right. And like the color blue, does blue exist just of its own, or does it require the shape of the structure of our eye to perceive blue, or does it require light and cross intersection of different varying colors in order to emanate what we would call blue?
They can measure it and they can test it and test for it and all that stuff, detect it. Yeah.
Blue.
Like colors. Yeah.
So you would
like
say blue is
to...
not a figment.
It's not a figment of people's imagination. Yeah. So even if people can't see blue, I think that's what you're alluding to. please correct me if I'm wrong, but if you're saying like if a blind person can't see blue, does blue actually exist? Or if we can't see blue, does it exist? Because we only see like a certain number of colors in the spectrum, right? Like we do, but we have animals that see
Right.
way more than we do.
Right. Right. Yeah.
And
Well, the reason
we've identified a whole bunch of the other colors in the spectrum, like so like it's 65,000 colors or something like that. It might even be more than that, but like all the
Right.
colors in the spectrum we've identified. But yeah, there's like we can build machines that can see it all. But yeah, there's animals whose eyes can see different colors in the spectrum that we can't.
Right. But do we all see blue the same way?
I don't know.
Who knows?
Maybe.
Right.
Maybe
Right.
not. Probably not. I don't know.
So,
I would say no in this sense that like I can only see like one perspective, right? Like what's in front of me, right? I can't see what's behind me or anything like that. And you see from your perspective. So I think in that sense, yeah, we all see it differently. So we all have different perspectives.
right. Well, it's the
Just
same
like
thing of saying like, does spring exist, or like does the autumn exist by itself, or is it more so just sort of like a phase lag between what we would call the extremes of summer and winter?
okay. And well, I mean, there would be, depending on where you live, there are like, different seasons.
Right.
Right. So yeah, if one person, was in, say, I don't know, Hawaii, and, maybe would say, I don't know if there's different seasons, there'd be like a rainy season and a sunny season, less rainy season, but,
Right.
but they wouldn't know snow or cold or anything like that. Right. So,
Right.
yeah, I don't know if it sounds like we kind of drifted off into the woods a little bit. But yeah,
Well,
kind of
that's the
back to
Tao.
God being real. Yeah. But God being real. And so again, I'm leading with
Yeah.
how do we know it's true? And so the evidence, that's what I'm looking for. Because I mean, I meditate. I mean,
Yes.
I took martial arts for a long time, right?
Okay.
And yeah, and there was this whole thing. Yeah, so that's how I know about like chi and part of the
Uh-huh.
reason why I studied the Tao and all that stuff, right?
Right.
Um, and I remember my instructor talking to me about chi and energy and all this other stuff, right? And
Right.
um and to me it was like, it seemed to me that I tended to hit harder the more I practiced. It had really nothing to do with like energy or anything like that. Like, new students that would come in more often than not could not hit very hard because they needed to practice. But the more they practiced, the better they got and the harder they hit. So that didn't seem like energy to me. He would be like, "Oh, you're harnessing energy." I'm like, "Okay, I guess." I don't see how, but all right. Um, so, and I think that's kind of where I'm coming back to you on that is, how do we know any of this is true? Because yeah, I mean, I meditate and I don't see anything that you see. Like I get relaxed, yeah, and
Yeah.
and all that, but I don't, I don't feel a God, see a God. I don't, I don't experience I don't experience anything like that.
Yeah. So I'll say, like, when you meditate, and I'm getting to this evidence, is when you meditate, you can either sit with no presence, and oftentimes you'll fall asleep, you'll get tired, or you can sit
What's
with
going on?
presence, but you're not sitting with your mind. Yeah. There's multiple ways to meditate,
Mm-hmm.
and but you can take notice that like the darkness behind your eyesight is infinite. You can see not just only darkness, you can see sort of this mass gradient field of most small aspects.
I see
You
like
can
weird
grasp,
little things floating around. Yeah.
yeah. So you can just grasp all of that all at once. You
Yeah.
can grasp also that your hand does not only feel the whole hand, you can feel like the tip or like the hairs on your hand. You are this almost super fine-grained sensational experience if you really sit with that. And you can put your hands on your knees and recognize that your knee can feel that subtle gradiented immense, really quantum
Mm-hmm.
scale. Your hand touching your knee can feel the same thing, and your attention can be present with that whole visual, audible, and sensational quantum field. And if you sit with that quantum field in presence for long enough and just breathe through it, they will dissolve, and you'll realize you were never divided to begin with. It was only an illusion. And there's
Okay.
only this thing that's behind the scenes And it's an experiential thing. No one can give it to you. But there's this thing behind the scenes that people have called God. It has always been there. It's the reason for plant life, for grace, for effortlessness, for water flowing, for the rock falling down
Okay,
the
I
mountain.
got you. Okay, is
And it would be
everything we
called God.
okay? Is everything we experience true?
Yes, but also subjectively.
What is a subjective truth?
Like beauty.
Okay, how is
Is she
that different?
beautiful? Absolutely, yes. But
How is that?
is she
How is that
really?
different? Well, how is that different from opinion?
It's not,
Okay.
but it's still true.
No, opinion's opinion. It's just
Like illusion is still a part of the truth.
illusion is part of the truth. Well,
Yeah, we see illusion with beauty, with preference of flavor, with our belief, like we call it an apple, but it's actually so much more than that.
yeah, I wouldn't call well, yeah, I mean there's beauty in a lot of things, right? Like we know what beauty is. It's also in the eye of the beholder, right?
Yes.
But that speaks more to mind states, not necessarily truth. Like truth is like that which lines up with reality, right? Like if everyone suddenly decided tomorrow that 2 + 2 = 5, would that be true?
Yes, because foolishness is true, and like being free is true.
Yeah,
It's not
it
like
sounds
that
like we're redefining
generalized.
things. Yeah, what it sounds
Well,
like.
it's all, yeah,
I mean, if you
that's a whole
redefine things,
subject.
you can make it anything you want, but I don't see that as true. Like I see things
Yes.
objectively as true, like that are mind independent. Like 2 + 2 = 4, true. You know, no matter, even if
Right.
everyone thinks that 2 + 2 = 5, they would be wrong. You know, 2 + 2 = 4. I
Yeah.
don't see that as true. I see that as I see that as opinion, but if we're renaming opinion as subjective truth, I don't see why we would do that. I would just say it's just opinion. You know, it's just a person's feeling, it's a person's vibe. Okay, that's fine. Call it feeling, call it vibe, call it opinion, but subjective truth, I can't. I disagree with that.
Humans often, they try to generalize reality. It's kind of the same way of like 1 divided by 3. We usually learn is like 0.33333. But if you take 0.33333 and remultiply that by 3, it never re-equals 1. So there's always this generalized, where the
Yeah.
numerical system is never really right on. It's more so wavelengths. And
Right. Well,
and
one
in
is
that way,
not
the
like a
truth is
full
beyond
one.
logic.
Yeah.
Right.
I wouldn't call
Yeah.
truth beyond logic. I disagree with that. Because, like, for example, we have like, you know what the laws of logic are, right?
Not in any sort of, if there's like something out there that says that there's laws of logic, you can share with me.
Yeah, sure. It's the law of identity, the law of non-contradiction, and the law of excluded middle. So the law of identity is like the most basic law of logic, right? You know, like I can identify your voice, for example, right? That would be an example of the law of identity. So just things are things, you know, A = A, right? So that would be, you know, so if we didn't have the law of identity, we would not be able to make sense of our reality, right? I think that's pretty intuitive, like pretty reasonable to say.
Okay.
We can't identify things, we can't make sense of our reality at all, right? We don't know what's what. We don't know,
Right.
you know, anything. And then the law of non-contradiction is, you know, something can't be like true and not true, P and not P, right? Something can't be true and not true at the same time, or something can't be red and blue at the same time, right? P and not P.
Mm-hmm.
And then something like the law of excluded middle is very similar to that, but it would be something to the effect of it cannot be raining and not raining over my house at the same time, right? It's either going to rain or it's not going to rain. It's very close to non-contradiction, right? So that's why I'm like pushing back on the subjective truth thing, because then you can just tell me, well, if I see an orange on the sill, on my windowsill, and you see it, you can say, well, that's an apple. And that's my and that's true for me. That's my subjective truth. Then we have no idea then what is real and what isn't. You know, we can't make sense of our reality if everyone has their own subjective truth, and that's just true. Because then, you know, at red lights, we'd be running into each other. Because what if people subjectively think that red is green and green is red? You know, red is go and green is stop. Then, you know, it just creates chaos.
Sort of it's sort of an agreement on the symbol, like saying red, despite that we might not all see red in the same way. We have this agreement that whatever that is, but we can still run the red light if we would like to, and that's where
Oh, of course, yeah, of course you can run the red light, but you know, don't be surprised if you get a ticket. That's what I'm saying. You know, like you can't walk into court and we'll say, well, you know, Your Honor, you know, for me, red is go, and that's my subjective truth. You know, they're not going to let you off the ticket. Come on, you know. So that's what I mean. Is like, you know, we have to have these, you know, we have to have like this some function of like identity here. And so if everyone's able to just name their truth, then we have, you know, that just kind of throws the law of identity out the window, and then things just become illogical.
Yeah, but it all comes down to beauty once again, that we're not going to see the same beauty, and so that there really is no truth there.
Yeah, and that applies to again, that's subjective and that's opinion, right? That's not truth. It's just opinion. Because again, yeah, I mean, what you could see as beautiful, I could see as not beautiful. Of course, beauty is an eye of the beholder. But that doesn't make beauty like a, you know, it doesn't make beauty lacking in concept. You know, it still has a definition, right?
But what if your version of one, like a unit of measurement, one tree, one thing, like what if my version was more near to zero? One to me meant zero.
Okay, well, if it meant like, well, because, well, mathematically speaking, one isn't actually one. It's like, you know, it's a decimal, right? It's just rounded up. So it's actually closer to what you said. It's 0.9999 into infinity. That's what one is. But we round it up to one, you know, to simplify it. But in reality, it's what you said earlier about if you divide 1 by 3 and then add the 3's together again, it's 0.999999. That's what one is. So, you know, so it could be 0.9999998 for me, and then 0.999999999 all the way into infinity. And for most instances, many instances, we would both be right. It would both be one for us, right? It may make a difference in like little things like maybe physics or chemistry or something, you know what I mean? Like something where we need like a very, very precise measurement. Like that type of scientific discipline or something like that. But if it's just like, you know, like if we're moving our cars, then that decimal point doesn't really make that much of a difference.
Do you believe that the wavelength exists within something that contains it?
Now, when I hear wavelength, I think wave function in quantum mechanics. And I think like the entire universe is the wave function. And then there's other wave functions that are comprised within that wave function. So yeah, in that sense.
Does it have like a beginning? Is there a smallest measurable? No. Where is the beginning? It's eternal. That's God.
Okay. How do we know that?
I'm jumping ahead.
No, that's fine. But now how do we know that? Like, how do we know the wave function is God?
Right. Well, the wave function would be sort of the limbs, almost as if God were trying to compare to something for the conversation, like an octopus or something. It's the body of God. It's the mind of God.
Well, I mean,
it's
if you're calling it that,
articulating itself.
If you want to redefine it as that, but you know, quantum mechanics, wave function means something totally different. So we don't have any evidence. It's like, because then if the wave function is God, that means that the wave function has an intelligent mind, right? You said it was beyond a mind, but it has
not
intelligence.
The wave. Yeah, not the wave.
Does it have intent?
Yeah, that which. Well, that's a good question. Yes and no, both.
Okay.
So yes.
How can it be yes and no?
Well, that eternity being the only would fall into divine loneliness. And so it would reflect itself in order.
These terms you're bringing up, man. These are some terms you're bringing up. Where'd you go up with all these terms, man?
It's everything from experiencing it.
What is this?
where we would arrive at love.
I mean, I'm not making fun of you. I'm just like, it's a little mind blowing to me because I'm hearing like all these terms you're throwing in here, and I'm just like, you know, and just look at, there was a time, okay, when the woo would have wooed me. All right, there was a time. And but see, now when I'm hearing this, I'm just like, man, these are some wild terms, man. It's like, because like I said, they sound pretty and poetic. They sound beautiful. Okay, see, there's beauty right there. I think they sound beautiful. They sound poetic, but I'm looking for they sound, you know, it's like the icing on a cake. I'm looking for the cake inside, and honestly, I'm not seeing it. I'm not seeing the cake inside.
That's the one where, with aside from meditation, I was saying there's a few different ways. Another one you would have to go outside and wander, and it's make that into a form of meditation, and you'll find the world is not what it would seem at first glance. It's not physical, it's not material. Everything changes, and that's completely experiential. I don't think anyone can ever prove God unless you came out and walked with a master or a guru.
I mean, like I said, I meditate every day, and you know, sometimes I'll go out because I live in a pretty fairly rural area, right? And you know, sometimes I'll go out and go to a nice place outside, and I'll go meditate and all that at times. So but I haven't found anything other than, you know, the natural world. I haven't discovered, you know, I haven't felt or discovered or experienced anything beyond that. And, you know, and so if you're saying that this God, because see, here's the other thing. You did say earlier that the wave function, which is eternal, is God, right? And if the wave function is part of our reality, we should be able to detect, you know, find signatures, clues, anything like that of this God, if it's part of our reality. And, you know, but I think you said earlier it's beyond our reality, right?
Yeah, you have to trace
it's in another dimension.
It precedes the senses. Yes.
Yeah, it precedes the senses. And so if our reality is this entire wave function, and so it can't be both the wave function and then be beyond the wave function, you know, that's a contradiction.
Well, it's kind of like, you know, at some point you had a child body and a child mind, and then you had, like, let's say you were 20s body, 20 mind. Your body, your mind, the weather, the seasons, everything changes, but yet you are still behind the scenes having this experience. The question would be, who is that one having this experience? And that would be God.
Yeah, so I don't have any evidence of that, because I would say I'm having the experience.
That would be the mind. Yeah, that would be the identity.
Yeah, so how would I verify that it's actually God having the experience and not me?
Lose your mind.
Okay. All right. So somebody says you done lost your mind. It must be that I found God.
Yeah, there's different ways to lose the mind. Yeah, so there's a light side and a dark side. So,
okay.
But one other thing is, like, you know, if you go to a mountain, you can say, well, there's a mountain and this is the experience. But really, the mountain is, maybe let's call it, also difficult in relation to ourselves. It's full of knowledge, and as you move up the mountain, the way that it looks is not going to look the same as the way back down. And once you get to the top, there's going to be some sense of achievement. And then the next time you journey that same mountain, it's going to be easier. You're going to become more wise. God is in that wisdom. God is sort of like, if you look at the horizon where the sky meets the earth, that liminal line that looks like it's real, that fine line looks like it's real, but it's not. And it just all opens up.
Yeah, see,
everything.
I don't have any evidence of that. Yeah,
Yeah, it's an experiential thing.
Okay. Well,
but eventually you'll see.
Well, if it's an experiential thing, well, I'll hit you with this. Yeah, we got a little bit more time left. I'll hit you with this, and then if it's an experiential thing, that means, well, my experience tells me there is no God, so that means there's no God.
Yeah, and that's where you got to lose the identity, lose the mind.
What if I told you to lose the mind and lose the identity? Then you would know there's no God.
But I already have.
You already have?
Yeah, I lost.
How do you know
I lost the mind?
Because if it's an illusion, like you said, illusion is truth. It might just be an illusion. But what if I tell you, no, you really actually got to lose the mind. You really have to tap in, and then you'll see, you'll understand the world as it really is. And the reality of this world is there is no God.
Right. I would see that I'm having a conversation with myself. Like, I cannot experience myself without, you know, the color and the sound. And
you would ultimately be having a conversation with yourself. So that's what I would tell you. You're having a conversation with yourself.
Yes.
And all we're doing is having conversations with ourselves. We're not having it with any other being or anything like that. And, you know, so conversation you're having with me is, yeah, we're having this conversation, but, you know, but you're just in your own mind. And, you know, when you're meditating and all that stuff, these These things that you're experiencing are just all in your mind.
Yeah, it's all the same infinite for everyone. It's the same beauty, non-beauty, truth, illusion,
Yeah,
light,
beauty, non-beauty,
darkness.
truth, and it's all, it all starts in the mind. So when we have evidence for that, so then that means there's no God, right? Because that's what my experience. It's an experiential thing. That's what my experience tells me.
But it is God. Yeah, it's. I know we're running out of time, but it's not the
Well,
God
no,
of
I'm
the
saying that
mind.
my experience tells me it's not God. It's just in our mind, and and we have verified that like scientifically that it all starts in our mind, and
Right.
our senses all start in our mind. Everything that we have starts in our mind, because you can't experience anything in this world without a mind, right? You'd agree with that?
No.
Do you know of anybody who's experienced something without a mind?
I have.
You have. Oh wait, you've
Uh-huh. You
lost
can
your
go.
mind, right?
Uh-huh. Yes. You can still use it. It's an
Oh
extension,
man.
but
Oh man. All right, you're a good sport. I'm about the losing your mind part. I'm messing with you, but I'm just saying I just kind of flipped it, and I just said, well, if we just do an experiential thing, then I can just say there's no God, and see, we have no way. But see, it's unfalsifiable, right? I have no way to demonstrate that to you. I've got no way to prove that to you.
Right.
And I think
it's purely experiential.
Yeah, so it's unfalsifiable. So everything you're saying is like just like I've said, everything I just said a minute ago, unfalsifiable. Everything you said for the past 28 minutes, same thing, unfalsifiable. So it's kind of where we're at.
Yeah, and so we're all at a standstill, and we're all just talking.
But it was still a good it was a pleasant conversation. So can't can't fault that.
Yeah.
Well, hey, listen,
I appreciate you, and I appreciate your peace.
Appreciate you coming up. Yeah. All right. Good talk. Have a good one.
Yeah. Peace. You too.
All right. So that was so actually, you know what, the first conversation I've had about woo in a while where the person didn't get upset, so he was actually a good sport, so that was good. King Hammy of Hamelot, how are you?
I'm doing well. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well, sir. Even though it is, I did say earlier I was going to do one-on-ones mostly today, but that doesn't mean that doesn't mean we can't follow the law. We still have a law to follow.
Yeah, of course.
Exactly. Yeah, of course. I mean, that's just silly of me to even imply that. And what is our reading for today, good sir?
I know how much you liked the random passage from the random book, so I grabbed another.
Oh! It's a random passage from a random book. Okay, I like this. Yeah. I like this.
Yeah, this random book is The Hunger Games, and this random page is going to be 143 of The Hunger Games. So, if you have a copy of The Hunger Games with y'all,
follow along.
Open it up to 143. You'll be following along.
Yeah.
And we'll start at the top here. It says, I spend the rest of the night slipping in and out of a doze, imagining the cutting remarks I will make to Peter Malark in the morning. Peter Malark. We will see how high and mighty he is when he's faced with life and death. He'll probably turn into one of those raging beast tributes, the kind who tries to eat someone's heart after they've unalived them. There was a guy like that a few years ago from District 6 called Titus. He went completely savage, and the game makers had to have him stunned and electric pew-pews to collect the bodies of the players he'd killed before he ate them. There are no rules in the arena, but cannibalism doesn't play well with the capital audience, so they tried to head it off. There was some speculation that the avalanche that finally took Titus out was specifically engineered to ensure the victor was not a lunatic. And that's where we're going to end that.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate Not a problem.
Appreciate
Of course, we have to be law-abiding citizens, and even if we are just doing one-on-ones, we have to come up here at least for one reading.
Yep, of course, at least one. So I thank you for that. Good sir.
As always.
All right.
And of course, I'll probably be down in the comments listening in that if you get a incredibly insufferable guest and people are like, let's hear one more reading to wash that out, I'm more than happy to do that as well.
Yes, I like that. Ear bleach. I love it. Thank you. I appreciate you. And that was Hammy, everybody. So in case you are wondering what the hell was just going on here, we voted a while ago, the chat did, that whenever Hammy is in the chat, that Hammy must come up and give us a reading. And by the way, if you have it on your bingo cards, please mark it. And so everyone remember to mark your bingo cards. First, the center square, God. All right. So this is the third day we've been playing this round. And we do have a person who is like very close to winning. However, it does not mean that you can't come from behind and win this. Yeah. So just remember to mark your cards. So yeah. I probably should add Trust Me Bro. Although I have like 65 like different things, but Trust Me Bro, I probably should add. Yeah. So all right. So let's go to the next guest. We have Shutter Sage, who is up. All right, Shutter Sage, how's it going?
Yeah, hello, can you hear me?
Hey, how's it going?
Hello?
Yep. Can you hear us? Can you hear me?
Hello?
Hello, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yeah, okay. Oh, sorry, network issues. Yeah, I can hear you. I can hear you.
Okay, you can hear. All right,
So,
fantastic. Okay, can I get your age and pronouns you prefer to use, please?
oh, okay, I'm 21. I'm male, actually.
Male? Okay. Do you prefer she, her,
Yeah.
he, him, they, them?
No, just address me. Address me as he.
He. Okay. All right. And which God do you believe in?
Oh, okay. I'm a Christian, so
Christian.
I believe in
Okay.
the normal Christian God.
All right. You're a Christian. Okay. And what's your best evidence that the Christian God is real? Hello? I think we have some audio issues. You okay? You good?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Yeah, no worries, no worries.
My best evidence should be consciousness.
Consciousness?
Yeah, I'm good. Yeah,
okay.
Consciousness.
Okay. Why is consciousness
the most
why consciousness?
Okay, consciousness should be the most relatable or feasible thing to use as an evidence, because I've been listening in the comments. You have been looking for a proof that is quite feasible, something that is materialistic. But I feel like consciousness should be the best analogy for this premise, because you can't teach self-awareness. Self-awareness just comes naturally. And now the question is, where does this self-awareness come from?
Okay. So you're saying because you can't, well, scientists know that it comes from the brain. So how do you know that demonstrates that God is real?
Oh, okay. So yes, the brain is the center of consciousness. But that the thing is that even though you cut out the brain, you cannot really pinpoint where the consciousness is coming from exactly. Because consciousness
No,
is
not exactly. But they have a very good idea.
Yes. Yes.
And it does come from the brain. It doesn't come from anywhere else but a brain.
Exactly. You cannot think without a brain, and you cannot live without a heart.
All right.
But that doesn't mean that consciousness is can be measured entirely. But what I'm trying to say is that you can't teach consciousness, you can't teach self-awareness. This is something that just comes from within.
Okay. I don't well, you can't teach I don't understand how that demonstrates God is real though. How does that demonstrate God is real?
Okay. Okay. Now, the fact that you cannot teach consciousness means that that the being that all put us here, and whatever is up there, Christian God or not, is a conscious being.
How do you
Like,
know that's true?
it's our consciousness. Because our
Because you're just
consciousness,
assuming you're
is
assuming a being put us here. You're starting with the God is real and consciousness proves that. I'm trying to get out from you. How do you know a being put us here?
okay from self-awareness, which still leads to consciousness.
Okay, hold on. So
Because you,
okay, so God is real because of consciousness. All right. God is real because
yes,
of consciousness, and self-awareness is how we know God put us here. So we have ourselves a circular argument. Now, this is a charger for
okay,
my phone. Will
okay,
this charge my phone?
not really. Well,
Yeah.
okay,
So that's
I might be
viciously
going about
circular,
it the
right?
wrong.
So it's not going to charge my phone. So that doesn't make sense, right? So because you
Oh,
said
okay. Let me.
consciousness proves God, and then we prove God with consciousness. So
No, we prove God by being self-aware. Now,
we
okay, let
we
me
prove God
break
by
that
which
down.
is
It
consciousness.
sounds
Yeah. So it's
ambiguous.
still circular. Yeah.
Oh yes, okay. Yeah, it's ambiguous. Okay, I understand. The thing is, when you
No,
look
it's
at
not ambiguous.
consciousness,
It's
as
it's
I said,
it's it's nonsensical. It doesn't line up. It's not logical. It's vicious circularity.
okay, but the thing with consciousness is that, when I say you can't teach it, it's something that is comes from within. You can't um you can't should I don't know, it's not something that you learn, it's just something that is just there. Is like consciousness is not something that can be easily taught. It's not
Okay.
something that
I still
like
don't know how that
you learn in
demonstrates God
school.
is real though. Just because it can't be taught. That doesn't mean that doesn't mean
Exactly.
that God is real.
Now for human beings to be conscious, where do you think it comes from?
The
Like
brain,
when you look at
like
the things
researchers
around,
say,
yeah, it comes
like
from the
neuroscientists saying. Yeah.
yes, it comes from what it comes from the brain, but I'm telling you that there's no part of the brain that actually predetermines consciousness.
Yes, we did talk about this before. Yes, I heard that part. And
Yes,
yes, they don't
exactly.
know
Now,
exactly where, but they know it comes from the brain, right? Because what happens if you remove a brain from a human being? Do they have consciousness?
no, you don't have
Okay,
consciousness of the
so
brain.
that's a big indicator that it comes from that it originates in the brain. Huge indicator. So are you telling me that that consciousness comes from someplace else?
Yes, example, when you like
Okay,
when you are saying something about okay, you're saying something about meditation, that when you're meditating, you have a conversation with yourself. But okay, I'm trying to ask a question. Where do you think intrusive thoughts come from?
our brains.
Intrusive thoughts,
Hmm.
suggestions that just they don't come from inherently from you, but like you just hear like another thought, or should I say another voice from
Our
within. Where do you
brains.
think it comes from?
Yeah, our brains. And here's very good evidence for that. Are you
Okay.
familiar with the condition schizophrenia?
Yes, I'm familiar with the condition.
Okay, so why is it that when many with schizophrenia, many if not all, take medication,
Mm-hmm.
the schizophrenic
Mm-hmm.
delusions go away? Because the
Now,
medicine
okay,
is
the thing
targeted
with
to address areas in the brain.
the chemical,
So if it comes from some,
no,
because you would consider those intrusive thoughts, right? When people see like heads flying by, or if they hear voices in their head, wouldn't that be an intrusive thought?
now you see the thing with
Wait, hold
schizophrenia
on.
is
Let's
it's
answer my
very, very
question.
peculiar.
Yeah,
Okay,
is that an intrusive thought?
the it's an intrusive thought.
Perfect.
It's
So
an
why
intrusive
does
thought.
why
All
does
right.
medication
Okay.
minimize or eliminate that if it's not from the
Now look at
brain?
what me. Okay, the thing is that schizophrenia is as a result of chemical imbalances in the brain. We all
Mhm.
understand that, but like it doesn't mean that those chemical imbalances are the original cause of schizophrenia. If you get what I'm saying,
Okay.
because
Why would you say that?
because of like in schizophrenia, the pathogenesis of schizophrenia doesn't have one origin. It doesn't come from just chemical imbalances. There are a lot of things that can
Okay.
make someone prone to
Well, you still
schizophrenia.
haven't answered why medication either significantly reduces that or eliminates it. You haven't addressed
Okay,
that.
now the thing is that the medication doesn't eliminate it. Medication can reduce those
That's what I said. It
malad.
either significantly reduces it or eliminates it. So I'm trying to understand from you why it does that if these intrusive thoughts do not come from the brain.
The thing is that with schizophrenia and modern medicine, it's very, very ambiguous. There is no real cause, but obviously medications will
What?
address the situation
All
in the
right.
brain.
Where's Dr. Joe? Dr. Joe, where are you? Come on, man. I'm going to get a PhD psychologist up here.
Actually,
All right. Are you a PhD psychologist? Have you studied this?
no, like I'm
Okay.
just
All right.
student, actually.
I saw Dr. Joe in here earlier. Is Dr. Joe here? Where's Dr. Joe? This is killing me. There's Dr. Joe. Can you come up, Dr. Joe, please? So we can talk about this. This is driving me wild. Because we have a very fundamental misunderstanding about what's going on here, and I do not have the words for this. So hopefully she can come up, because I've got a PhD psychologist who can talk us through this. Oh, okay, she can't come up. All right, so I'm gonna have to hammer way through this. All right. So, okay, so what we know is that. Oh, looks like he dropped. Okay, he dropped. that was gonna be tough, but okay. So I think that's what we refer to as Dunning-Kruger. I think that's what we refer to. That would be something called Dunning-Kruger. To like say things like that are just like that, like with that much like confidence. All right. So maybe it was a troll. I don't know, but that was a little bit wild. Okay. All right. So if you are at least 18, a believer in the God of the Bible, the Torah, the Quran, preferably, or at minimum, a mind that created the universe, and you have evidence that God is real, come on up and let's talk. And we'll bring up David. How's it going, David?
Going well. How about you?
Hey, doing well. All right. Can I get your age and pronouns, please?
24, he, him.
All right. And which God do you believe in?
Jesus.
And what is your best evidence that God is real?
Yeah, so we know that Jesus existed, and we know that he died on the cross.
Okay.
And so if the testimonies that are written about him are true, and his disciples did die for, the proclamation that he resurrected, then the only possible way would be that he is God.
Okay.
And because Jesus affirms the Old Testament scriptures, then I would say that also aligns.
Okay. So we kind of went through this. I went through this with the first guest, so I'll just bring up the same thing I had up earlier. Okay. So we're saying, okay, so Jesus was real, right? Okay. So this first thing. So Jesus is real. let's just say that's true. I'm agnostic to it. I really don't know, but let's just say Jesus is real. We know Buddha was real. So does that mean that Buddha achieved nirvana?
I don't know Buddha. He could have. I don't know.
He was real.
I don't know what nirvana is necessarily.
Nirvana, it's like this very, very enlightened state where he kind of, it's basically ascending into heaven in the Buddhist sense. He just achieved like this super enlightened state, and he just kind of went up to heaven, basically. So it was like their version of ascension.
Like they say he ascended?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that. I mean, I don't.
Okay.
No, I wouldn't. I don't.
You wouldn't believe that? Why not?
No.
Okay.
I mean,
why not?
Is his grave, do we know where his grave is?
Okay. So just because he was real doesn't mean he ascended, he achieved nirvana. He did something extraordinary. So whether or not a person's real doesn't mean that God is real, right? So Jesus could be real and God not be real, right?
Correct.
Okay. So we can we can move that one out of the way. Okay, so that doesn't necessarily mean it, but you did. What was the second one you used? Now this is the previous guest. Yeah, so I'll change it around.
I said that because we know that his disciples, who were his disciples for 3 years, they died with the proclamation that he resurrected.
Okay, they died with the proclamation that he resurrected. And how do we know that the disciples were real?
I mean, it can. There's a YouTube video, Alex O'Connor. I don't know if you know who he is. He kind of goes into it, and I can give you videos. I myself am not a scholar, but from what I've seen, the arguments that they existed, they are strong enough for me to believe it.
Okay, but we don't have any independent evidence that the disciples even existed. Like we can't prove it outside of the Bible.
Well, no, because we know that Peter existed. He was, Saint Peter of the Catholic Church.
Okay, we got 11 to go.
So,
right?
Right, and the church.
And we don't know Peter existed. It was a claim, but it was. If I grant it, yeah, but even the evidence on that is shaky because we're talking about a historian who wrote about Peter in either anywhere from 95 to 140 CE, which is late 1st, early 2nd century. So if it's closer to the 2nd century, that would have been long after Peter was dead, and then it would be like 2nd or 3rd hand information. Like this historian would not have directly met Peter. So, if we're taking it from there, so it's dubious at best, but if I give it to you, that's fine. But now you gotta show me that Bartholomew existed. How do we know Bartholomew existed?
Well, hold on. So with what you just said, if someone who knew Peter speaks about Peter, I would still say that is strong evidence to know that we don't
know that they knew Peter. That's my whole point. We don't know that they knew Peter. It doesn't say they knew Peter. It just said that Peter existed. But we don't know that they knew who he was. And it doesn't speak for any of the other disciples. Like I said, Bartholomew. What's our evidence that Bartholomew existed? Matthias, Simon, Thomas. How do we know any of those people existed?
Because those are very common names for the region, and so they most likely did.
I don't know why that's relevant.
Well, because I personally don't see a reason to just make up that information, and especially those are names that were in the region, so that shows that there's credibility.
You don't see any reason to make up information?
What do you gain from saying that Jesus Christ came to die for your sins and then dying for that belief? What do you gain from that?
The spread of the belief, trying to take power, which they eventually did. They spread Christianity by the sword. So that's what eventually happened. That was the hope.
Yeah, but the scriptures say that you will know war no more, and so that's
how do we know any of that's true? How do we know that's true?
That the scriptures say you should know war no more.
That's actually that actually was said. That somebody actually said that.
Well, the fact that it's written shows that it contradicts the actions that were put out by the belief.
Okay, so something that's written is true, is automatically true?
How do we have any of history mostly?
Okay.
It's not all through ancient artifacts.
All right.
It's a lot through written accounts.
Okay, so that means Virgil's Aeneid is true, which is, have you read Virgil's Aeneid? You don't know what that is? Virgil's Aeneid is what the Roman emperor commissioned Virgil to write to demonstrate that the Greek gods forged the Roman Empire. So that means because it was written down, that makes it true, right?
No, but Jesus is different.
Why is Jesus different?
Because we know Jesus existed.
Okay, we know Virgil existed.
So can I just put a YouTube link, and it's an atheist that will explain it better than I ever could?
I know what you're talking about. That's not evidence that God is real. A YouTube link isn't evidence God is real. So you know what evidence is, right?
Right. So evidence is not necessarily proof. It's just evidence that you either accept or you don't. I accept the evidence.
It's something that increases the probability of something being true, right? So how does Jesus being real increase the probability that God is real?
Because if he resurrected from the dead, how else would he have done that?
Okay. How do we know he's resurrected from the dead? What's our evidence of that? That's another claim.
The tomb is empty. The disciples, not all of them, Some of the disciples, again, died for that proclamation.
Okay. But see, we're kind of going in circles here because again, we have no evidence that the apostles even existed. We have no evidence that they're martyred. We have no evidence of that. What evidence do we have that they're martyred? How do we know that?
Have you looked it up?
Yeah, I've looked it up. I've looked it up. I have a video on it.
You look it up right now?
I have a video on it. Go watch my video. You want to go watch my video?
Can you look? You can look up. Just look it up right now while we're on screen. Can we do that?
No. You can go watch my video. How about that? Because I've already done the work. Here, I'll link my video. I'll look my video in the chat.
Okay.
All right. So
I'm just saying, like, there's evidence out there, whether like you're just choosing not to accept it. Because like if you really are being honest about
Jesus being real is not evidence, David. It's just because you already dismissed Buddha being hold on, I'm talking. You dismiss Buddha ascending into nirvana because he exists. You already acknowledged just because somebody exists doesn't mean divinity. You already said that. So Jesus being real is not evidence.
But how does that discount divinity? Again, he said himself.
But you're saying but you have to demonstrate that he rose from the dead. An empty tomb does not demonstrate. Well, then there's no reason to believe it. Then why would we believe it? So then that means then Muhammad, peace be upon him, ascended to heaven on a winged horse, right? That's true.
No.
Okay. Why is that not true? Because Muhammad existed, right? That I'm using your criteria. I'm using your standards.
I agree that Muhammad existed.
Okay, Muhammad existed. All right, so Muhammad existed, and it was written down, right? It was written down because you said it was written down.
Hold on. If your only argument is that just because they existed doesn't mean that this.
That's not my only argument. I've got a million arguments why this shit isn't true. I can go over all of them.
You've given the same reason every time.
Because people ask me that because people give me the same evidence.
I asked you to pull up. If you want to, you can look it up right now. We can do this live.
And I asked you to look at my video. We can do that right now. But you don't want to go look at my video. I've already done this, David. Why do I got to do this again with you? If I've already done this, which makes you so special that I have to do it with you again. Just go watch my video. Okay, then go watch my video, brother. Just go watch my video. So how about this? Yep, come back, go watch my video. It's on my on my profile. It is, and actually it's a YouTube video. It'll take you to the YouTube link of my video. I'll even tell you what the title.
I thought YouTube videos don't prove anything.
Okay. I already had this discussion with somebody. So I'm telling you, and we went over the evidence. So it's going to tell you what the evidence is. So it says,
but I thought YouTube videos don't prove
the title of the video is Christian Host Disconnects Me After I Show Him There's No Evidence of the Apostles. So I already went through it. It's right there.
So you recognize that in the same YouTube video, so there are YouTube videos that also show the evidence of Jesus. Why is your evidence?
Are you going to watch the video or not?
How long is it?
Well, this one is like a minute and a half, but the actual full video, because this is just a clip, the actual full video is about 17 minutes. So why don't you go watch it? Yeah, go watch it and then come back. All right. All right. So, I mean, if we're resorting to watch this video, I'm just gonna be like, go watch my video, because I've talked about all this. Like, we've talked about it over and over and over again, and there's no evidence of the apostles that even existed. There's no evidence of it. Zero. And there's zero evidence that they were martyred. So zero evidence of it. We have no evidence of that. We've got, so if you're gonna go with this noise about, oh, why would they die for a lie? We don't even know if that happened. And if we're gonna talk about why would people get martyred for a lie, just bring up 9/11. Okay, so then that means that Allah is real, because people in 9/11, they died for that, right? They martyred themselves. I mean, they literally drove those planes into buildings in the ground. Okay, no praping, Angel. No praping. So I will pray for you. You don't have consent. I know Christians have an issue. They don't understand what consent means, but no praping. No, we do not accept prape here. No praping. So if anyone prays for somebody without permission, you'll get muted. Okay, so we've got the 5-finger test for consent. All right, Christians, you paying attention? Freely given, revocable, informed, enthusiastic, and specific. So no praping. All right. So let's go over, see what people are talking about. Okay. Very legal. Love it. Hey, that's Planned Parenthood. Although there's one that's called CRISP. They take informed and informed and specific. Oh, revocable, informed and specific. And then they add consensual and I'll have to look up. I think it's present. I think it's present. Like you have to like be, the person has to be present when you make a decision about their consent. How do you have so much knowledge? Oh, I just read a lot. I read a lot. That's all it is. Okay, you have a quick question? Taking up ops today. So if you're friendly, you can come back, or you can do it in the okay, if it's 2 seconds, we'll do it real quick. All right, CCE. Okay. How's it going? Quick question. Yeah.
Quick question. Okay, so am I
Wait, you broke up. I think your Wi-Fi scrambled up. Wait, say it.
Sorry. They said the white. Hold on, let me see. Okay, I'm in my car, right? So they say the Noah flood happened, and they gave it a time frame around like, I don't know, 3,000 BC, 4,000 BC.
Mm-hmm.
But during this time, so I asked people, I say, well, if this happened, why come during the time when the flood happened and wiped out everybody, right? Mm-hmm. So how is that possible when there are African civilizations still living while the flood is happening?
Yep, that's true. And like,
right? I mean,
Chinese civilization, the Egyptian civilization, like just about every civilization, nothing happened. Yeah,
it was nothing happened.
They have no explanation for that.
So that right there, exactly. So right there, so the bloodline of
Native Americans,
Jesus, it got to come through Noah. Yeah, so it got to come through Noah, right? So if that never happened, then Jesus never. That's all. I'm out of here, man. I trust.
Yeah, no, it's a good question, and that's the answer. Yeah, there's just no other civilizations. Yeah, went out. There was no. Yeah, so you got it, man. You're on it, and you can also ask them, hey, how'd the penguins get back to the South Pole? How'd the kangaroos get back to Australia?
Yeah,
you can just ask questions like that, and
see
there's no answer.
That one little question with the historical document. I mean, we all know history. History is history. I mean, Africa don't pretty much. So what they say, you kick over a rock and you got to rewrite everything. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So it just that one question right there can just dismantle all this craziness.
Oh yeah,
but
yeah, for sure.
I'm out. But thank you for the second.
Yeah, you got it. All right, CC. Have a good one. All right. Okay, David's back. That was quick. Okay. All right, David. So you watched the video?
I did. So you acknowledge that we can actually accept that 3 of the 12 disciples existed.
Okay. So we have 3 of the 12. All right. And I just grant that. But like I said, the evidence on that is shaky, but I'll just grant it for the sake of the conversation. So, so how do we know any of them were martyred? What is the evidence of that?
Well, Peter was in. Well, actually, I'll go away from the martyred. Why? So when they, even in their writings, they affirm that Christ is the Son of God and all these things.
Whose writings? Whose writings?
We have 1st and 2nd Peter. We have James in the New Testament. Like they're in the New Testament. I don't have.
Yeah, we don't know that they wrote those. Yeah, we don't know that they wrote those. We have no evidence they wrote those. Like Peter was supposed to be illiterate, So how did he write Peter if he's illiterate?
Because he can talk.
He can talk? Yeah. So somebody scribed it for him, but we don't know that that's true, right? We have no evidence that that's true.
Okay, but just for the sake of argument, like, can we just entertain the idea?
To accept it?
Like,
that
just
Peter
to
did write Peter?
Just to follow the line of thinking. Like, can you just go with me on this?
All right, I'll go with you for a second, but I'll provisionally accept it. It just depends what you're going to say after this.
So let's say that these are the words of Peter in 1st and 2nd Peter. These are the words of James in the book of James. Yes.
Okay.
If these are their words, they are saying and affirming that Jesus Christ is the Lord and he is the Son of God and he came to die for our sins. And Paul himself also says these things in his letters.
Okay. And how do we know any of that's true?
You don't. You just have to trust whether or not it is.
Okay. So, but this isn't trust me, bro. This is evidence, right?
Well, I mean, but we can trace that the letters, we can even trace how far back they have come. So
that's great.
It's up to you. So what I'm saying is that there will never be able, like, we're not going to be able to see whether or not Paul's like penmanship to whether trace who wrote it.
I'm not asking him if he's
seeing.
seeing. Well, here's a comparison. Like, we know, okay, do you think Julius Caesar existed?
How would you even prove that Paul actually wrote it? Like, what? How would
I'm about to show you. I'm about to show you.
Okay.
Okay. Here's an easy one. Is it true that Pontius Pilate existed? That's true, right?
Yes.
Okay. And the reason we know that, there's several reasons why. We've got the Pilate stone. We've got Josephus talking about Pontius Pilate. We have letters that Pontius Pilate wrote, like little pieces, and we have letters written about Pontius Pilate, like pieces of it. Well, I think we have a complete one of that. Like, we have a record of somebody talking about Pontius Pilate, and we have a little piece of something that Pontius Pilate wrote. I just showed you. That's how we demonstrate that Peter wrote Peter.
How do you know that it's the same Pontius Pilate?
Because we use all types of deduction. We don't know 100%, but we have, it's called Bayesian probability. It's like 80 to 90% certainty, maybe like 80%. It's like, we're pretty certain that Pontius Pilate existed. Okay. But see, we don't have the same level with Peter. Julius Caesar, another example, lived right around that time. I mean, 40, 50 years earlier, but we have writings from Julius Caesar. Okay. We got a coin. We found coins with Julius Caesar's head on it.
How do you know he wrote it?
The reason why is because people have attested to it who knew him at the time he existed. They wrote things to him, they wrote things about him, and we independently verified it in other parts of the world. So,
brother,
that gives us a very good probability that gives us very good probability, James, that Julius Caesar was real and existed. And we do not have that same level with Peter. We don't have that same level. We have two mentions. Okay, one mention in late 1st century, early 2nd century. We've got a claim that he wrote Peter. We have no way to verify if he did. We have no contemporary evidence that anybody who knew him wrote about Peter. Okay, nobody else wrote about him at the time he was alive. We have nothing like that.
What about the early church fathers?
Yeah, which was 2nd century and on. That's early church fathers.
We're
talking over 100 years later.
Peter lived in the 1st century, yes?
Yeah, he lived in the 1st century. So we have the earliest we have about Peter is the late 1st century, early 2nd century. No. And here's why.
Why is that not okay?
Because we don't know exactly when it was written. If it was later in the mid 2nd century, there would be nobody who knew who actually saw him in the face. There'd be nobody who saw him. Well, then, see, that's the thing, James. You have to demonstrate this, not me. You have to demonstrate this.
Hold on. But I just want to say, you yourself just said, I am okay with 80% probability that these things are written. Why are you not giving that same acceptance to?
Because we don't have the level. We don't have enough to get us to that 80%. You're just saying, just go with me. Just accept that it's true. No, I'm going to need evidence that it's true.
I'm not a scholar. So there is this great organization called Apologetics Canada. They are doing like, hold on, they are
Not
doing 20,
Apologetics Canada. No,
they are
no,
doing 20
no,
minute,
no, no,
brother. They're literally
no,
traveling the world showing you the
no,
evidence.
no.
They are traveling the
It's
world showing you the
no,
evidence.
no.
They are
You have to
traveling the
use,
world
okay,
showing you
you
the
have to
evidence.
look at critical theologians. You have to look at critical scholarly examinations. These are people who are they're just running confirmation bias. You know what confirmation bias is?
Yes.
Okay. That's all they're doing. They're just saying, I'm going to show you that it's true. They're not running any type of thing proving that it's true. Okay. They're just running
Again,
bad
so
apologetics. And these are bad
if we can,
apologetics that we're
so
running.
if we can, again, if
Got
we can
no way
trace
to,
the
okay.
letters,
Yeah.
if we can trace the letters of Paul back to the mid 50s AD, yes. Do you agree with that? 50s, 60s AD.
Doesn't mean God is real. It just means somebody wrote letters.
No, again,
we have parchments. Yeah, I agree with you. We have parchments. I'm not, see, James, you gotta understand something. I'm not saying none of that it's real. Is your name James? I'm sorry. David. I'm so sorry, David. I thought you were James. My fault. I apologize. David.
Look, on the third time, I was like, okay, you're getting disrespectful.
No. I didn't mean to be disrespectful. I thought it was
You
David.
good,
Look,
good,
I'm
man.
old.
You
I'm
good,
old,
you
right?
good, you good.
I'm old.
You
Okay.
good. Don't
I
worry.
didn't mean,
You good.
I
You
apologize all 3 times. I'm very
Don't
sorry
worry
for
about
that.
it.
Yeah.
Don't worry.
Yeah.
No,
Didn't
you
mean
good. Don't
to
worry about it.
misname
Don't worry
you.
about it.
Did not mean to misname you.
You
Okay.
good. You
David.
good. Don't worry about it.
David. I'm going to say it like David. All right. I'm going to remember now. David. I'm not saying that they don't exist, that I'm not saying the letters don't exist. I'm not saying Paul never existed. I'm not saying it's not real. All I'm saying is we can't verify that what's on there is true. It just seems like you're just accepting that it's true just because it was written down. And that's
no, but right. No, I'm not saying I'm accepting it's true simply because it makes sense. It makes sense. I know that you said earlier
that's vibes. Yeah.
But no,
That's
hold on.
vibes.
So I know that you
evidence.
said earlier. I know that you said earlier that they would have spread the gospel for power. I don't understand that because Jesus only preaches, but Jesus himself preaches humility, meekness, and he himself says, "I have come to serve, not to be served."
And
so I don't see.
No one follows that today. Very few people follow that today.
But we've
got people in the United
fault.
States. We've got I'm not saying this is fault. I'm just saying, just because he preached that doesn't mean people followed it. I mean, Buddhism preaches a lot of things about peace, right? But there were like factions in Buddhism that were fighting against each other. So that doesn't mean anything. It means nothing.
Right, but again, so Paul in his letters, he is not saying to go take power. Like he himself is like affirming the things that Jesus says. So what I'm saying is that these were not people preaching power, like the Gospels and none of the New Testament.
No, that's not true. He didn't affirm everything Jesus said. He actually went against some things that Jesus said.
Okay, well, in terms of like loving like your enemy and like forgiveness and all these things, he affirms. And so in terms of like
if you pick and choose, yeah.
You're not okay. So you're not anyways. So I am simply saying that the line of logic makes sense because if Jesus existed and we can trace the Gospels back to however far back we can.
Well, you're starting with if he existed. You have to start, you're doing it backwards. You have to start with, how do I know it's true that Jesus existed?
I mean, the scholarly
because this is exactly the definition of confirmation bias. If he existed, then we have this, and this. See, done. He existed. That's confirmation bias.
I'm not. The only reason I'm saying if because you asked what is it simply like you asked essentially like what does it matter if he did? So I'm saying if he did, and the testimonies about him are true.
That's two big ifs. The second one's a big if. If it's true, really, we don't know if it's true.
Well, but again, the claim is that he resurrected from the dead. The only way that happens is if God exists.
Okay. But how do we know it's true that he rose from the dead? We have no evidence of that. Zero.
Right, but so there's this thing. So we know Pontius Pilate actually crucified him, yes?
Okay. Doesn't mean he rose from the dead, but yes. I'll grant it. It means nothing about about him rising from the dead. Doesn't mean anything.
But again, you're asking for evidence, not is it evidence or proof? Which one?
It's evidence. I'm just asking for one piece of evidence. It's something that increases the probability of it being true. You haven't provided that. None of this is evidence. of God
Do
being
you
real.
agree?
None of
Do
it
you
is.
agree that Paul? Do you agree that Paul was persecuted by Rome?
Agnostic on it.
What?
We don't have any evidence. We really don't have any evidence of it.
But so then why wouldn't you just say no? Like, why are you agnostic?
The reason why is because I don't automatically say no. I just say I don't believe it. Okay, I don't automatically believe it, but we just can't verify it. But I'm not going to say no, it didn't happen. I'm just saying I don't really know if it happened.
Okay, well, we do know that Christians. So, but do you agree that Christians were persecuted during like this time?
Mm-hmm. They were, as was every other religion. Early in the religions, every religion experienced persecution. So then that would mean that Sikhism is true, right? Because the two founders of Sikh were actually martyred. So Sikhism is true.
No.
Okay. So witches were burned at the stake. So witches have been persecuted for thousands of years by Christians too for a lot of that time. So,
which is wrong.
But you wouldn't say Wiccan is true, right?
What is a Wiccan? I believe like spirits,
like
and things.
Witchcraft.
Yeah, witches,
covens. Yeah. So Wiccan is true.
Yeah.
Okay. So that means fairies are real.
I don't know.
Because they believe in fairies. They believe that fairies are like they have a book on fairies. So that means fairies are true, right? Fairies are real.
I believe that demons exist. So however form a demon decides to take is up to it.
Okay.
But I'm not.
How do we know it's
agnostic.
a demon though? Yeah. How do we know it's a demon?
I mean, the Bible mentions demons.
Okay, but how do we know that's true though?
I mean, you don't. I just okay.
It's why believe it then? If God, we don't know it's true, why believe it?
Yeah, because if God exists, it makes sense that demons also exist.
If God exists, it makes sense that demons exist. Okay. And then we're kind of back to the circle. We're kind of on this merry-go-round because again, none of that demonstrates that God is real. None of that does.
Because if God is real, and so he wouldn't be able to exist in our reality. Like the writer of a book, you're not gonna know who it is from reading the book, right? So like that. So for God to exist, it would have to be outside of this reality. The Bible says that God is spirit. Why?
Why would it have to be outside of this reality?
Because if he himself is affected by this reality, he can't be in control of it.
Okay. What else besides God exists outside of this reality?
I have no clue.
Okay. So why does God get the special pass then?
I mean, when I look at our anatomy and the biology, chemistry, and physics of life, I don't believe it came out of randomness. Me personally,
I don't believe that either. Scientists will believe that. We agree.
Yeah, and so I don't know how you. I mean, like I said, I disagree. The fact that there are literal laws in the universe that we only can discover, we can't explain why or how they got here. They just exist, and by them existing, we are able to have life.
What if they have always existed? What if they just are eternal?
I mean, to me, that makes a lot less sense than a God creating it, because I don't
because God, okay, but an eternal God makes more sense than the laws of physics being eternal. How? Why?
Because how can a creation be eternal if we already see that everything in this world dies, even stars?
So if the universe has always existed, it can't be created, right?
But again, it doesn't make any sense that a creation has always existed.
But it's not okay. But again, if it's always existed, it's not a creation. So why can't it just always exist? You're just presupposing that it was created. But how do you know it was created?
I mean, we can see that it is expanding. So it's expanding from a point.
Not a point. No, that's not what the Big Bang is about. Not what the Big Bang says. The Big Bang is, according to majority of scientists, we talked about this yesterday. According to majority of scientists, the Big Bang says nothing about the start of existence. 68% of them say that. I had a physicist on my show yesterday, and we talked about that in detail. So it's just an event, and they say that the universe is at least 13.8 billion years old. Could be even way older than that. But I believe that it is eternal. It's just a belief based on evidence.
What evidence?
Mm-hmm.
No, what
But
evidence?
see, the evidence I would have is something called the quantum eternity theorem, also general relativity. We know that according to the quantum eternity theorem, it states that if quantum mechanics, if the Schrodinger's equation is true, and we've demonstrated time and again that it is, because you and I, because of the Schrodinger equation, are talking right now. This is quantum mechanics at work. That the quantum eternity theorem states that time is eternal. So also that there was a non-zero amount of energy in the universe. So it pretty much says energy always existed, time always existed. And then we know from general relativity that time and space are interwoven. So then that means space has always existed. And then gravity has always existed, also from general relativity. So we have time, energy, space, and gravity, which are like the four basic components of the universe, which is a manifold that holds everything of our reality. All those four things are eternal. So that means the universe has always existed.
But who holds it together? Like, how does it get held together?
The laws of physics. It's not a who, it's a what. It's the laws of physics.
So the laws of
which
physics
has always existed. Which has
the
always
laws
existed. So yeah, so why is your mind blown by that? But no problem accepting that this being somewhere has always existed. It doesn't make sense to me.
No, my mind wasn't blown. I was just wondering, how do you know any laws that have come on their own?
No, it's because these are descriptive laws. These aren't laws that somebody wrote, are prescriptive. You know the difference between prescriptive and descriptive?
Yeah.
Okay. So these are laws. This is in a law in physics is something that is like that we observe, like the law of gravity, right?
Mm-hmm.
So like if I throw my charger up in the air, that's the law of gravity. We're watching it right now. Yep. There's also the theory of gravity, which is like all of the equations and all that stuff that go on with, so there's things that we observe, and that's the laws of physics. So it's not, it's descriptive. It's not prescriptive. So yeah, the laws have always existed, because again, if all of these things have always existed, that means the laws of physics have always existed. So it's not anybody holding them together or somebody had to create them. It's just they've always existed. It's eternal.
So how are you using something that you just said is descriptive and then prescribing that is the answer?
It's not prescribing, it's describing.
Right, but you're describing what we have found out and then saying that is now the answer.
Because we've observed the laws of physics. So again, gravity, right? That operates under the laws of physics, right? So you and I are observing gravity. That's why it's a law. Right. So but that's just a description, right? It could have like a description for this could have been gobbledygook, right? It's just they just named it gravity. Isaac Newton just named it gravity. So it's descriptive. That's what that means. So it doesn't mean that you have to write gravity as a law and then gravity becomes a reality. It just means that's what we call it. It's a law because we can see it. We can observe it. That's all it means. That's what descriptive means.
But as you said, you simply believe that the universe is eternal. I
believe it. With evidence. I have evidence for it.
Sure.
But what evidence do you have that God created everything? What evidence do you have?
Everything that you just listed.
Gravity?
Yeah.
Okay. How does gravity demonstrate God is real?
I mean, it had to get put there somehow.
Had to get put there somehow? Yeah, it always existed though. It's always been here. That's the evidence that we have.
Sure.
So why would something that has always existed need to be put somewhere? Oh, I got to start the kickball. Keep going.
I mean, again, the evidence may say that, but that doesn't prove that it is. Yes.
I didn't say proof. I just said evidence.
Correct. So again, everything that you just said is is cool, but that's not proving that it is actually eternal. Like that does.
I just said it's not proof. It's evidence. David.
So, but I'm trying to understand. I am trying to understand your logic. Okay. You believe that laws that we simply are able to observe and can only describe have always existed, but a God who created these laws for there to be life in the universe does not.
Okay, but that just assumes that this God was there. We have no evidence of it. So if you're saying this God is here, then what is our evidence that this God is here? That's the part that's missing here.
So the universe
it's just
can be
totally
eternal.
unnecessary. Yeah, why even add a God? Why do you need a God for everything to be here?
Because not only do we experience, well, because I don't understand what morals are for. I don't understand what, like the psychology of our brain is. Like, I don't understand all of these things that bring more than just fight to the death. Like, there are more things than just science in the world that have substance, that go beyond necessarily just, human understanding. That is a connection that I would say points to a creator.
Okay. Well, the evidence that we have, David, is that evolution through natural selection and adaptation paved the way for morals. And that's the evidence that we have. So what evidence do we have that God created morals?
Well, so what evolutionary advantage is there for people to, like, now, for evil in the world that is still continuing? What evolutionary advantage is there?
Great question. And if people had voted to keep you on, we could go into it, but they voted to move on. So how about you come back tomorrow and we can pick up from there? We can talk about, like, what advantage would people have to have morals? And we can go over that. Sound good?
Sure. Have a good one.
All right. Have a good one, David. Thanks for good talk. Thanks for the talk. Appreciate you. Yeah. So, yeah, eventually, yeah, I saw it drifting because it was like drifting from here to there to here to there. And I was like, okay, we're probably going to have this morals thing. And sure enough, we did. But unfortunately, chat moved on to the next one. So who do we got? Yeah, just, when we talk about like things like that, because like, I think people got to understand, like, when I say the universe is eternal, yeah, it's a belief of mine, but it's belief based on evidence. And I look at belief based on evidence. And if we have this thing called faith, that's belief without evidence, because Hebrews 11:1 says that. Faith is the substance of things hoped for and the evidence of things not seen. That's not what we have with science. It's not hope. It's not evidence of things not seen. Scientists as a collective have observed these things, have seen these things. So it's not hope. Rainbow Ash, $5. Thank you. Damn it, voters. He was about to say my space winner. We need to vote for our boards. Yeah, he was about to. He was getting close. So maybe next time, Rainbow Ash. But thanks for the $5. And I know Rainbow Ash. Oh, you're like this close to getting a second early kick poll coupon, which means you could trade it in for an automatic kick, like an immediate kick, which is a jellyfish. You could trade it in for a jellyfish. That is impressive. You were just unaliving it on bingo. So that is impressive. Rainbow Ash. Oh, very, very impressed by that. Okay, so we do have an early kick poll in place. Whoever bought, oh, Dan, thank you for sending that. Okay, you have a coupon. So now we won't, the next guest we have Prayer Boy Tone, and then Bible Brews is back for a second round. But we have Prayer Boy Tone is up, but we won't spawn kill him. We'll give it some time, but early kick poll is in effect. So, all right, let's bring up Prayer Boy Tone. There we go. How's it going?
Hey, how you doing, boss?
Hey, doing well. Thanks for asking. Can I get your age and your pronouns, please?
I'm 42 and I'm a male.
Male? Okay. That's your gender, your sex. So I'm asking, like, what pronouns do people usually refer to you as that you prefer?
Tony.
Tony? That's your name. Like she, her, he, him, they, them.
I said a man. I said the man the first time.
Okay, so we have men who use she, her, or they, them. So are you good with she, her?
No, him is fine.
There we go. All right. Very good. Okay. Which God do you? Yeah. So prayer boy, which God do you believe in?
I believe only one God.
One God. Which
Jesus
one
Christ.
is that? Jesus Christ. Okay.
Jesus Christ.
All right. And what's your best evidence that God is real?
Well, Psalms 19, 1-3.
Okay. How do we know that's true?
Can I go there?
Yeah, you can go there. But how do we know that's true?
Well, God has to use people to be able to how can I say it? Naturally, I'm gonna say that. Naturally explain the things that he has done. So
okay.
The person that you was on our last chat with, what I think what the gentleman is trying to say is that within laws of proving that there is a God, there's no way that you're breathing on your own.
Okay. How do we know that's true? There's
no way that
we're making claims. Yeah. How do we know?
Well, no. It's not a claim. I just okay. Well, I mean, to your opinion, that's a claim.
No, it's a claim because science has determined that the autonomic nervous system is what keeps me breathing on my own. So we already have evidence for that. So you're saying it's because of God that helps me breathe. So how do you know that?
Okay. It says here in Psalms 19, the heavens and declare the God of the earth, and the firmament swooth of the handwork, day unto day, and utterly speech, night unto night, swish the knowledge. There is no speech nor knowledge unto where the voice is not heard. So
they ain't coming after you, are they?
Of what you're no, I'm part.
Okay. I was gonna be like, run! They're coming, brother. Run!
No.
I'm just messing with you, man. I'm messing with you.
Oh no. It's okay. I can take the humor. That's so. But in a sense of the knowledge of knowing that there is a God, it's the even what you were saying with gravity or whatnot. It's impossible for science to control gravity. Science can't control.
Science doesn't
gravity.
Want to control. Science doesn't want to control gravity. Science. That's not the purpose of science.
But you're based,
science is just to make sense of how the world operates. That's all it does. It's not here to control.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So within saying that, you just proved my point. There's no way that things cannot operate without God. There is
how do we know that's true though? We have no evidence of that.
I just read it.
I know you read it, but how do we know? I know you, but how do we know how do we know the Bible is true? How do we know that's true? Like, how can we independently verify that's true?
That's why I said that's why I when said before I said this, I said God uses disciples, God uses men. It's just like water. I mean, in a sense. Okay, hold on. In a sense, it's nothing that you can ever identify. You can't identify that. That's just like knowing the fact of how grass really actually grows. No one actually really knows other than water and plant food. That's it.
But botanists no one know how grass really knows. Botanists know how and why grass grows. Botanists know that.
Okay, so within that being said, it's just ineligible to not to believe that there's a higher being, that there's a God that is controlling everything and not every being. That one scripture alone.
How do we know that though?
That's why I just say it's your opinion, sir. Like I can understand the fact.
No, I'm asking you. How do you know? You're not really telling me how you know. You're just saying, well, because the Bible says so. But how do we know the Bible that verse in the Bible is true? How do we know that?
Well, if I do that, then I'll be going to several verses in this Bible, and I doubt that we got time for that.
Wait a minute.
So,
hold on. Okay. No, go ahead. So what you're telling me is the Bible is true, And to demonstrate the Bible is true, you're going to use verses from the Bible to demonstrate the Bible is true. That's what you're telling me.
No, what I'm telling you is that God uses people.
I heard that. Yeah.
To make sure that them things are being done.
Okay.
And because them things are being done, things are being even proven as we speak as today.
Okay.
Even in scientists are even finding things that we've never heard of.
Yes, they have found things we've never heard of. I'm saying though that
so within the things that we've never heard of, how do you think that them things got here? That's what the young man was trying to explain too.
Well, that's when we would do the I don't know. But that doesn't mean that God is real, right? So like
no,
do you know what supernatural means? Do you know what supernatural means?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir, I do.
So supernatural means what? I just want to make sure we're on the same page. I'm not quizzing you or nothing. Yeah, it's not like a vocabulary test. I'm just making sure we're on the same page. Yeah.
Yes, things that happen that's unspoken, things that happen that you don't have a knowledge of how it happens.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
So
yeah, I would call it, I think we're on the same page. I would call it things that can't be explained by science, right? Like ghosts. Okay. Call ghosts supernatural.
So you believe in ghosts and not spirits?
No, I don't believe in ghosts because science can't confirm whether or not they're real. So I don't believe it.
Oh, okay.
There's no evidence of ghosts. Yeah, no evidence of ghosts. No evidence of Bigfoot.
Well, I don't believe in ghosts. Right? I do believe in spirits, but I don't believe in ghosts.
Okay. But like, I don't believe in Bigfoot. Honestly. Science can't confirm that Bigfoot is real. No evidence of that. Right? That would be something supernatural. Loch Ness Monster, supernatural. Scientists can't confirm whether or not the Loch Ness Monster is real. I don't believe it. Yeah. So I don't believe anything supernatural. Yeah. I would consider spirits in that line because we can't prove that spirits.
So let me ask you this then, respectfully. So within saying that, why have a conversation that's something that you don't believe, even if I proved it to you?
Because, no, I never said that if you proved it to me, I would still not believe it. That would be intellectually dishonest of me. So that would be denial at that point, right? That's why I'm asking for evidence. When I ask for evidence, because I want to believe it. You know, I have the desire to believe it.
Okay, so
just I don't have any evidence to believe it.
I'm definitely gonna go through some scriptures and I'm gonna send scriptures to you to let you know that God is real. But just for you to say that, it's just off the strength of you saying that, it's like beating a dead horse. You know what I'm saying?
I don't think so.
You could tell that,
or maybe.
Okay, hold on. Wrong.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm derailing your train of thought. I'm sorry. I'll shut up. Go ahead.
Like you was reading. Oh, okay. But so basically, my thing is that if I proved it to you in the way of how you're asking, in the way that you want to know, is your mind open up enough to want to believe?
Absolutely. And
that's
you know
what?
And Tone, we got 183 people here. Most of them are non-believers like me. I call myself a non-resistant non-believer. If you show me evidence that God is real, I will believe it. Like immediately. Immediately believe it. And if because I do this quite often. I just actually did this yesterday, so that's why I'm pretty confident, because I see a lot of the same people here. I did a just kind of informal poll yesterday. I said, type a 1 in the chat if you were shown evidence that God is real, would you believe God is real? And a lot of the people type 1s, right? So that to me, and so they're like me. Like if you show us evidence that God is real, we'll believe it. Hey, Jessica.
Yeah.
Hey, this is my friend Jessica.
Yeah, I just wanted to come up to agree. Hey, I'm Jessica. Yeah, if you show us evidence, I will also agree with you. That's why I just want to pop up here and say.
Okay.
There we go. So, thanks, Jessica. Appreciate you. You got a bit of an echo, so I'm gonna drop you back down.
Okay.
So yeah, so there it is. So that's the thing is it, and so see, that's the thing, Tone. If you gave me evidence and it's legit evidence, and let's just say I agree with you. Yeah, that's good evidence, Tony. That's good evidence. And I'm like, but I still don't believe it. That would be intellectually dishonest to me. I wouldn't do that. That's denial. I wouldn't do that.
Well, that's kind of, but see, the thing is okay, with that one scripture that I just read, that's one. But because of, well, the word says, so as a man think it, so is he. So in the meaning I'm saying that is this. It wouldn't, I'm not saying that it wouldn't matter, but in a sense it wouldn't matter. But I'm gonna do my diligence and make sure that it's not just one verse. Excuse me. It's not just one verse. It's several verses to prove that God is real. So, but that was just one.
Well, but how do we know that verse is true though? That's the thing is I asked you that earlier and then you said, well, I'm going to pull other Bible verses to show you that verse is real. And again, you're using the Bible to prove the Bible is true. And you can't do, that doesn't make a lot of sense.
I'm gonna do that part, but I'm gonna just give you just a smidget of a testimony if that's okay. So within that, just keep it short. That scripture, Oh yes, that most definitely.
All right.
Within that scripture, high level summary, basically stating. I'm sorry.
Oh, I was just saying a high level summary, if you could.
Oh, okay.
Of your testimony, yeah.
2014.
Okay.
I know I'm not.
Hold on, everybody.
Didn't see, this spiritual being and all these things and things of that nature. But just like you just quoted, you just said you say you don't believe in the supernatural. All right. I was locked up for a situation that wasn't I wasn't the cause of it at all. Was locked up for about 3 years, 2.5 years or whatnot. Got out. But the way how I got out was the fact that the person that told the story decided to tell the truth. So there is in a sense of the word says love covers a multitude of sin. So for that person that said what they said the first time and then decide to actually tell the truth, that within just that saying of that testimony of my life or whatnot, I was set free. Could no man do that?
All right.
Could no man do that?
I'm sorry to cut it off, but I had to do an early kick poll.
No, I was done.
Oh, okay. I'm so sorry, but I was going to say it's actually getting a bit compelling because I have more questions about that, but I got to move on to the next guest because they voted to move on. But what I would do is ask you to come back tomorrow.
And what I'm going to do?
Come back tomorrow.
What I'm going to do is I'm going to come back tomorrow, but what I'm going to do is send you 4 more scriptures, okay? And I appreciate you bringing me up.
That sounds good, Tone. All right. Hey, enjoy the rest of your day and stay away from them cops, all right? Because they are like toxic for you, brother. Like not only their sirens in the background, but man, I didn't know you got locked up. I was like, I would definitely have told you to run. I heard them sirens.
I know I'm an LPN. I'm an LPN, man, and I'm outside the emergency room. I was on my break. So.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. Hey, you got a good sense of humor too, man. Hey, I'm glad you're out though. Glad it worked out.
Yes.
All right. Okay. We'll talk to you tomorrow. All right. We'll see you later.
Yes,
Stay safe. All right.
Yep. You too.
Oh no. All kidding aside. Yeah. Got to say that kind of speaks to like the level of our justice system that, somebody who's didn't do a crime could get locked up like that for 2 or 3 years. That's wild. That's wild. And not gonna lie, may have had something to do with the way he looks. I'm just saying. I mean, I have no evidence of that. Okay. This is vibes. All right. But, so that's the part that makes me sad. But hey, I'm glad he's good. He's out, he's making a living, he's doing his thing. That's the important part. So all that's behind him. But, that's certainly like something that is concerning, right? And it's just specifically about our justice system. Trust, but we have yet to verify exactly. So, so it's pure It is pure vibes on my part, but it's not faith. And here's why. Because we could probably do some research and, if you let us, like, I don't want to dox him or nothing, but if we could probably do research and verify that happened. All right, let's bring Bible Brews up. And then we've got Vaughn waiting. So Bible Brews is back for round 2. How you doing, sir?
Hey, how you doing?
Doing
Trust but
well.
verify. Can I call you TBV? Is that okay?
Absolutely. You can call me Trust, TBV, Trusty.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. For the folks that don't know, I've been up here before. I go by he, him, and I do believe in the God of the Bible. I don't want to eat up all your time on your platform. I'm actually here to speak to other Christians maybe in your chat or tuning in. Hey y'all, this man is learned. He is researched, and give him due respect. I think you're owed that, brother. If I can say so. Like,
I appreciate you. That's very
I've
nice
actually I've tuned into a lot of your lives. I'm sure you've seen me like, hey, Bible Brews has joined or something.
Mm-hmm.
I've also watched a lot of your actual content on your own page. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not saying I agree or support like theologically or something. Like, I'm not a theologian. I'm not an apologist. I can't really defend. Yeah, I know.
I'm not a theologian.
That's what I was gonna say is a lot. I'll speak to this actually on your behalf, if I may. Guys, he's not attacking you at all, actually. Relax. Like, also, he's asking for evidence. Evidence is, like he says, something that like opens up, like increases the probability of a thing being true. I study math and physics and I'm an engineering major, and it's like, I understand what hard evidence is. And guess what? I can believe in hard evidence and still be a Christian. Now, does that mean that I walk it well? Does that mean that I'm able to defend it well? And does that mean that I can, without getting like spiritual and into some people may call it woo woo, that's okay. But it is my belief. And he's not attacking your belief, y'all. He's actually not doing that at all. It's when we come in here as Christians and kind of be like, hey man, you this. It's actually, the Bible actually speaks, there's only one accuser. So be careful accusing a friend. And this man's actually, I've listened to him a lot. And as a Christian, we have to be careful because like we're representing ourselves and like how we conduct ourselves also. And this man claims to be a former Christian. Guys, I've seen him do it. He'll pull up the Bible to Christians, be like, hey, you want to be held to this standard? There you go. And he's right to do so. As Christians, we literally openly claim that, hey, this is the standard we want to be held by. And so then we ought to accept that when someone else that we're presenting our faith, we are presenting our kindness and patience and peace and joy. If we're not doing that well, then we have a reckoning. Not only will we, like Jesus, if we go by the good book, Jesus says what comes out of your mouth comes from the heart. And so then if we're out here, like this man claims to be an atheist, we are to show him God however he requests to the best of our ability. And if not, well, then we can have a good faith discussion. And this man genuinely has good faith discussion, frequently has often good faith discussion. I just heard him twice now to 2 prior guests, both Christians. I'm not being nasty to the guests. However, brothers, listen when he says, if I see evidence, I will believe. Guess what? Our own brother, St. Thomas, if we claim to be Christians, said the same words. He still followed Jesus. Well, guess what this man TBV does? He is kind to his guests who have differing opinions. He is patient. He does hear us out. And so be careful. This atheist himself is more Christian than a lot of Christians. And I just wanted to, in your conduct, sir, that's all I'm saying.
I appreciate you, man. I appreciate
and I really feel like that's honest. And like, I believe God is truth. Well, then how dare I sit here and like, let you be misrepresented, even though we may have a difference of opinion. I
appreciate that.
There's a lot, man. And like, I believe you're sincere. I really do. And like,
I am. Yeah.
And I've even listened to the other folks that you've had host with you and stuff. Brother, like keep asking the hard questions, because why? We deserve it. We make a claim, we ought give a reckoning, like to those that have a good faith question. You're not mocking, you're not being nasty, as far as I can tell. And just honestly, thank you, because I've messaged you directly, you know this, and like you've given me good conversation. Like, hey man, this is all I'm saying. Like, look into this, and I'm doing my homework, brother. And I'm not ready to have a long discussion, like present God evidence. But I just wanted to let you know that, and
Hey, I appreciate you, man.
that's on my heart, brother. So just human to human, you know.
All right. Well, hey, Bible Brews, I appreciate you saying that. And you know, it's interesting. I don't usually allow people to preach, but in this case, I let it go because, you know, but okay. And so remember, yeah, I got your Venmo right? So you should be getting that payment real soon for this. And no, I'm playing. No, there was no money exchanged for this. I did not. No, I did not prompt this at all. Yeah, it was just genuine good faith. But I'm totally kidding about that. No, I sincerely appreciate that. And yeah, I'm coming from a perspective of, you know, yeah, I don't, you know, I have a lot of doubt that this is true. However, if you show me, yeah, of course I'll believe it. Of course I will.
Right on.
That's all I'm doing. That's all I'm doing.
Yeah.
So,
anyway, I don't want to take your time. It's your platform. Peace be with you, friend.
All right, man. Take it easy, Bible Bruce. We'll see you. We'll talk soon. All right. So yeah, that's just where I'm coming from. And I get it. I get why people get upset. And I think that's a lot of the reason why I don't get upset with a lot of people. I mean, I'm not perfect, right? Yeah, you've seen me get spicy, but a lot of the reason is because, you know, a lot of people's identities is wrapped up in this. Yes, that was nice, Alan Gibson. But a lot of people's identities is wrapped up in this. And, you know, people like Jason, they got to go meta because they got no other arguments and they're threatened by this. They're threatened by questions. And, you know, so they have to go meta. And so, which is kind of funny because that's definitely not true, Jason. But even then, even if I am low IQ, well, I still have questions and you still got to answer them. You know, you still got to provide evidence. So it doesn't matter if I'm low IQ or high IQ or what, still got to provide evidence. I'm getting 4 to 5 back-to-back repliers. Y'all are stuck in your own lack of knowledge. Okay. Yeah. So let's go with Vaughn, who's next. Jax, you just didn't want to wait. Okay. All right. Yeah, Jax, you're after Vaughn. How's it going, Vaughn?
Yeah, I'm doing great.
Yeah, great. Can I get your age and pronouns, please?
21, he, him.
Okay. And which God do you believe in?
The Christian God.
All right. What's your best evidence that this God is real?
Yeah, I would say that I would probably say something like discoverability makes the God less the God hypothesis less disbelievable.
Discoverability? Yeah. In what way?
So,
and for those not familiar with it, can you tell us what you mean by discoverability?
Yeah, so discoverability just means that based upon analyzing our universe, it seems that science is very legible. Our scientific theories is really good at mapping on the past about our universe. So an example of this is one of the ways we'd go about doing that is CMBR, or actually CMB, which is just cosmic micro background radiation. That is a fossil light that is used to discover the traces of that of the early universe, and was used primarily in that of the Big Bang theory to discover the history of the how coming about of the Big Bang theory. What we understand about these particles is that they're very, very useful in that of our scientific theories. And what we recognize with the math is that it seems that they fall into a particular conducive range where if there was to be a slight deviance, it would no longer be that the universe is discoverable. And all I mean by discoverable is that it can be understood by knowers. And what that basically means is that rational agents like you and I is able to deliberate and contemplate and understand the universe.
Yeah.
If there was a deviance, the universe wouldn't be discoverable, but rather detectable. And all that means is that all we can see is the effects or a very faint signal of the things about the universe.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So under this view, I want to say something like, given that the God hypothesis I'm positing, which is some sort of mind first reality. So I think that the universe I take the universe to be eternal. So I think the universe is co-eternal with God. I the universe is just eternally dependent upon, and what I define by God is just some sort of eternal rational mind.
Okay. Yeah, just like an intelligent mind that created not created the universe, because you said it's co-eternal. So the universe and the God existed at the same time. So
that's right.
But you would say this God created everything within the universe, or a lot of things.
I would say the things within the universe are projections of this rational entity.
That's interesting. Projections. Okay. So as in like, so is this like a mix of, because I'm hearing like elements of fine tuning, solipsism. Is that where we're kind of going with this?
This is called panentheism.
Panentheism. Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
Now you represented the Christian God though. So a panentheist Christian?
Yeah, you can. There's a philosopher named Philip Clayton.
Okay.
He's a panentheist Christian.
Interesting. Okay. All right. Okay. So let me kind of run it this way. I've been trying to. I was kind of doing this thought experiment that I've been trying to formulate. So I'll try it out on you. It's not a trap or anything. It's just really, it's more like a thought experiment, or just a kind of an approach to have a conversation. So let's just say everything you're saying is true.
Okay.
So let's just say you convince me. All right. So everything you're saying is true. Discoverability demonstrates that God is real. And you've moved me off my perch of, I don't believe God is real. What do I do next?
In terms of what you would do next, I think that would just be up to you. Okay. I'm not too sure how to really answer that question. Like all I'm trying to posit is that there is just some evidence that points to a creator being real. How you go about dealing with that information, I think that's just secondary.
Okay. Well, and so that's what I'm asking you. Okay. So let's just say you were in my shoes, what would you do next?
I mean, what I would do is, okay, first I would adopt the belief, and then after I adopt the belief, I then would see which of the religions best like map onto this creator. Okay. And then also like sorry
to interject. So it sounds like if you had, then it would be Christianity.
Well, for me, I just assert Christianity dogmatically. Okay. Because I think the whole purpose of religion is not really to like prove it. It's more of a faith-based type of thing. And I don't see really too much. And I think if I were just to provide evidence for Christianity being true, then I just don't see the reason why it kind of just gets rid of the whole faith trope that it's been built upon on. So I would say I just assert it dogmatically. Now, and that's more of a personal thing. So like if you want to say that, Christianity doesn't align to best of that of this creator existing, that's fine. You can probably, maybe you can
that's
take
not the hill you're going to die on. Yeah, that's what it sounds like.
Yeah, that's not the hill I'm going to die on. But like I'm saying that, if that's what you want to do. If that's what you want to do, that's what you want to do. Yeah.
Okay. Because see, I think the other part of this, I think one of the big things with non-believers like me is like, okay, well, let's just say that we see evidence that God is real. Okay. Well, then what do we do with that? Because you're just saying, well, you can do whatever you want with it. Okay. Well, I mean, then if we can do whatever we want with it. Now, I can tell you right now, just knowing myself, I wouldn't deny it. Okay. That's one thing I would not do. I would believe it. I would be convinced. All right. But then at that point is then, okay, well, this is kind of the thing that we're kind of left with is what a lot of people don't tell us is, okay, then what's the next step? Like you said, well, I would adopt a dogma, right? That's what you would do. And so I guess from your perspective, why was it Christianity and not say Hinduism? Because Hinduism fits under panentheism.
Yeah. So I'm looking into, well, it's not, I think it's a mixture of Hinduism and Buddhism, because those strongly favor panentheism. In fact, a lot of those teachings come from those particular religions.
Yeah, you're a lot less of a Christian and more of like a Buddhist Hindu.
But the reason why is that, like, I do take more of the teachings. I try to incorporate a lot of the teachings from other religions, such as like Buddhism and Hinduism, into that of Christianity. I think the reason why I just aligned with Christianity is just some sort of drawing, some sort of like preference. I don't really know what it is. I just kind of looked into it and said, well, this seems something that aligns with me. And yeah, and that's just what I stuck with. And you know, what you're saying is not something I haven't heard before. Like my friend, he says that even if he takes it that God exists, it just doesn't serve any purpose in his life to believe in God. And I think that's a fair thing to say, which is why I don't think it's completely irrational to be an atheist. I don't think there's any evidence that strongly favors theism over atheism, and same thing like vice versa.
All right.
So
that's fair. I mean, I don't think that's, I don't want to belabor that point. I'll just say, okay, that's fine. You might be right about that. Now I, on the other hand, would say that, because for me, it's a non-belief, right? It's not an assertion that God's not real. It's just a non-belief. Now, it's a polysemous word. I just learned that the other day, by the way. But, you know, so you could say, yeah, there are atheists out there who say there are no gods. And then there are atheists like me who say, I don't believe it. I don't believe there are any gods. It's a bit of a different mindset, right? So I think from my camp, yeah, I would be in the position like your friend that, okay, so if you did convince me this God is real, then it would have to be a position of, okay, that's why I asked the then what, right? Because do I worship this God? Like, do I, what do I do here? And that's the part that, like, I'm not saying you're having trouble with that. You actually explained it really clearly, but that's the part, like, a lot of believers have trouble articulating. Like, why should I, like, do you worship this God, Vaughn? Or is just like, what does this God mean to you? Like, what purpose does this God have in your life? Or,
Well, I think, so my interpretation of this God is, it's a lot more dynamic and more intimate with its creation than that of how, classical theists or traditional Christians want to say that God is more distant and more static and more simple. I think that God experiences the world through us and through that of its creation. And I think also God changes in terms of how God experiences the world. And I think I think also they're more hands-on in the sense that they persuade particular outcomes to that of creation. So what that basically means is that there's the kind of power I assume God has is not a coercive kind of power, which is that, he can just force things to happen, right? He can just make things happen anytime. No, I don't think that's the kind of power God has. I think he has the power of persuasion. And by that means that God presents particular options or reasons towards agents like you and I that follow either by some sort of logos, through that of logic, pathos, or through that of ethos. And then us, with our ability to make decisions, we act upon and we respond to these reasons, and then we make decisions upon there. And I think that's how I go about. That's what my understanding of God is. Now, do I worship this God? It's not really too clear. I would call it worship. I do pray. I do ask this God for answers to questions that I may not be able to find the answers to. But I think it's brought me comfort in my life because there has been a form of some sort of answer that conveniently comes about within a short time period after I pray. So maybe it can be coincidental, sure, but it's brought me comfort in doing it.
Okay. Okay, I got you. And so in that sense, yeah, because you touched on a few things here. So one of the things is like you kind of mentioned some attributes that this God you believe in has. And I'm curious to know, because you introduced the the concept of discoverability, right? did you come to know these attributes through discoverability, or how else did you do that if you didn't?
Well, no, I came to know these attributes before discoverability. I think discoverability just is going to be something that serves as evidence of the attributes that I see. Because I think it would be less surprising that if the universe was discoverable, these are the kinds of attributes that this entity would have.
How did you come to know those attributes? Like, how did you figure out those attributes exist?
So first I would look into the interpretations of this entity. And then I start to draw in information. It seems that like, let's just take like the counter examples or the counter evidences for God existing, which would be like divine hiddenness, the problem of evil. There's also theological fatalism, but I'm just going to focus on the first two. In terms of the problem of evil, I think the reason why it's a really strong argument against the God hypothesis is because it assumes God has a particular kind of power, which is some sort of coercive power to intervene.
Right?
Yes, certain attributes
it's
to intervene.
It's
right?
attack
and
on those attributes in particular. Yeah.
Right. And it seems that I think I think it is successful because I think if you do have that kind of power, and it wouldn't really cost you anything, I don't see why you wouldn't intervene given those kinds of interpretations of
like
those
in all
kinds of
cases
attributes.
of
Right.
potential suffering or potential evil. Yeah.
Right. So I think
I'm with
that
you.
in those cases that I wanted to modify those attributes in light of those cases. And then it starts to reveal to me that, like, you know, after doing trial and error and looking at, you know, the kinds of objections people have to these particular attributes that are historical of examining God, I start to see that a lot of these attributes are shaky or not really thought out, which is expected. This is what Philip Clayton was talking about, because a lot of the interpretations of this God is very old. And it's also because it seems that the God hypothesis is not really aligned with our science. I really want some sort of interpretation where God is also aligned with how we do science, how we understand a lot. Because there are some people that believe in God that deny evolution, which I think that's just widely implausible. I think evolution is largely true. And I think, you know, especially in the Adam and Eve story, I think that is just, all that is conveying is that there's some sort of evolutionary process, and Adam and Eve were just the first two reasoners or rational entities like you and I to come about from the evolutionary process.
Okay. So it sounds like what happened in your like discovery of the God that you've come to the table with, this God that you believe to be real. Sounds like there were a lot of things that didn't make sense about, like, I guess maybe an original concept of God that you had, you know, because you compared it to, like, say, the problem of evil, divine hiddenness, and that didn't all make sense. And so you're like, okay, well, then it sounds like then this God isn't all powerful. It sounds like this God isn't omniscient, because those arguments are kind of wiping that away, right? It sounds like if this God is hidden, and, you know, if this God is quote unquote hiding, you know, divine hiddenness kind of really makes a good argument why it shouldn't be. So there must be something else here. So then how did you figure out that it wasn't those qualities, but it was these other qualities? Because you said, well, you know, well, I knew it wasn't these, but how did you land on the specific ones that you listed earlier?
Okay, so how I landed on them is that it seems that then the argument that was posited against those particular attributes don't really bite on these attributes. My interpretation of omnipotence is not that God has like coercive power. He has the power of persuasion. And in terms of all knowing and in terms of all good, I don't think God is necessarily all good. I think he can be all good, but I think there's instances where God can be indifferent at times, which explains why there isn't really a response when it comes to the gratuitous suffering that we see amongst humans and non-human animals.
Okay. So I think the one thing though, like with this God that you have in mind here, I think there's still like a bit of a struggle with me in terms of, now I know I did say at the beginning, it's like, okay, let's say I grant this is true. And this was more the thought experiment. What do I do next? Right. So we're kind of I just want to let you know we're kind of past that, right? So now I'm kind of back in the non-believer mode because I have a better understanding of this God that you're talking about, right? In terms of like this God, because you said, well, no, this God can be indifferent. It's not that this God is all good. Like this God can be indifferent and things of that sort. If this God were out and out evil, would you still hold this God in the same regard that you do now?
Well, it depends upon what exactly is meant by evil.
Evil, well, I'd say probably the dictionary definition. Let's see. Or if it was like evil like Hitler. It was that kind of evil. Evil like Stalin, a dictator, or a serial unaliver.
Well,
would
the way I
still hold
cash
this
out
God
evil
in the same regard? Yeah.
Well, the way I cash out evil is just that you are just going to be indifferent. You're indifferent to the gratuitous suffering,
Profoundly
which would
immoral and wicked. So I had to
profoundly.
look up. Yeah, that's the Oxford
Yeah,
language definition.
Yeah, I don't know about that. The
immoral
way
and wicked.
Yeah, I don't know about that because that just seems vague to me. Like the way I cash it out is that like you're just indifferent to gratuitous suffering.
Okay. You would call that
I
evil?
think I would call that's what I call evil. Right.
Okay. Does your God then have the ability? Because you did say your idea of omnipotence is a little bit different. It's more persuasion, right? Like maybe influence than it is out and out like coercive power, which I think that means that this God, I think the God that you're talking about isn't like, won't do like pull a Thanos move, right? It wouldn't do something like that.
They won't pull a Thanos move, no.
Right, something like that. It wouldn't perform a miracle, so to speak, right? It would have influential power in that it would maybe put people in the right places so something will happen.
Something like that, yeah.
Something like that.
By presenting, and you can do and the way it does that is by a presentation of reasons.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I think I understand. So in that sense, then, can this God put a series of things in place so that an outcome that this God desires happens to get the outcome that this God desires?
Can
like a chain of events? Yeah. Could it just affect a chain of events that would result in the outcome that this God wants?
Absolutely.
Okay. So in a sense, so it's not like direct. It's like more indirect power, right? It's not like a Thanos thing, but so like if it wanted to do a Thanos, like wipe out half of the beings in the universe, it would do it through a series of actions, and that would result in the outcome of half of the beings would be gone. Not a finger snap, but like a series of actions, something like that.
That's correct. And I also take it that you do have the ability to choose or go down these paths. So it allows for like creaturely freedom. So it may want you to go down a particular desired route, but ultimately you have the ability to deviate from that.
Okay, you have the ability to deviate. Okay. So in a sense then are you saying that we could overcome this God's will?
If by will you mean the desired outcome, yeah.
Yeah, like if this God wants a desired outcome, we could thwart that if we wanted to.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. So then how is that like power or influence then? Because like it seems like sometimes things happen, sometimes things don't.
Well, the power and the influence would come to this idea that this entity has the ability to present, well, in the sense that this entity has the ability to persuade anyone. Like they can persuade anyone in any type of way, even through that of animals as well. Like humans do not have this kind of ability. Neither do animals.
Okay.
There's just certain people that you're just unable to persuade. This entity can persuade anyone. It's just that ultimately the choice to accept this evidence for persuasion rests entirely upon you.
Rest entirely upon me. Now, how would I know if this God were trying to persuade me? Like, because if it entirely rests on me, doesn't like as an agent, you have the ability to make a choice, right? And
Right.
and if you have the ability to make a choice, do you have the ability to make a choice if this God were trying to influence me somehow, or trying to persuade me? Like if it's his will that I get persuaded, would I be persuaded, or can I overcome that?
You can overcome that, because what it means for you. So what it means for you to be an agent, under my view, and this goes into like free will versus determinism debates, is that, well, I'm a compatibilist, so I think that what it means for you to be an agent is to not only to respond to reasons, but also to recognize reasons as reasons, and that reasons are self-known to you.
Yeah, that's inherent in choice, because you have to have the ability to reason, because I think that's what you're parsing out, and the ability to make a choice, right? So it's not like purely instinctual, or somewhat instinctual. You have to be able to reason to a choice.
Yes, something like that. So that way we don't have we can show how like people that are being manipulated, they don't really have choices when it comes to that of their actions. Someone else is like pulling the strings.
Correct. And so like people who are brainwashed, for example.
Right.
They, even though they're potentially agents, they can get brainwashed to a point where their choices are really limited, right? They're going to be very, very influenced to make decisions. So in that sense, then, is that how your God operates? Like similar to that it just really, it just really limits the choices that this agent can make, or like steers them into a choice. Yet you would say that this agent still has the ability to reason his way out of this?
Right, because I would say that even while there's influence, the reasons that are presented to you, these reasons are self-known. Like these reasons, and then also you're responding to these reasons, and then you grasp these reasons as reasons. Okay. Now it's up to you to make a decision upon whether you want to act upon them or whether you don't want to act upon them.
Yeah, but you just don't. But the part you don't know is whether or not this is coming from a God, right?
I would say something like, I probably don't want to say that, this is something that's coming from a God. I think that this sort of thing is kind of hidden, to allow that, to prevent some sort of manipulation. Because I think if people were to recognize that all these reasons are just coming from God, I think it just then limits critical thinking, and then because you would just simply trust these reasons, you would just simply
maybe even distrust them entirely. Yeah,
or
maybe some people would just totally
them
distrust
entirely.
it. Yeah, because it's like,
and obviously that would be bad, because that would lead to like certain outcomes, right?
I think I see where you're coming from. Yeah, okay, I think I understand. So I think what I'm trying to parse out is, how would we be able to verify whether or not these reasons that you're kind of outlining for us, like, come from a God, like it would be this God's influence, or it's just, like circumstance, coincidence? How would we be able to test that?
See, so that sort of thing is that would just be more of like an intuition kind of thing. I don't really have vibe. Like, it's more of a vibe kind of thing. Yeah.
I got it. All right. Okay. So it sounds like what you've built is like, what you have is like a very, like an unfalsifiable, like type of God that really is like, it's immune to like the divine hiddenness argument, it's immune to the problem of evil, like a lot of these philosophical arguments that dismantle, these classical gods. Like this God that you are telling us about, that you believe in, is like immune to all that. Would that be fair to say?
I would say something like that. Yeah. I think those arguments would be biting more towards a classical interpretation than my interpretation.
Yeah. Cause I mean, that's the like in all, because that's the gods we've been dealing with for, you know, thousands of years. So I would say philosophy is built mostly around that, you know, like religious philosophy or theological philosophy, right? So that I hear. And I guess where I would go with that then is, okay, so if it's really intuition based, we have no way to verify that this God is real. Except, I mean, it's real for you, which is fine. And I'm good with that. Now, I think the rubber meets the road question is, you know, is this God's morality like influencing you to, you know, in your daily life? Like, you know, like how you interact with people, how you treat people?
Well, I don't derive morality from God. I think so. Morality to me is
interesting.
It's just unique. I think the problem, historically speaking, and even now, is that they try to conflate morality with God, and they derive morality with God. A lot of Christians do that, and they try to say that without God you can't have morality. That's insane. You can have morality without God. Morality to me is just something. It's just the assessment of what you should or shouldn't do based upon the reasons presented to you. That's just, and obviously that's for me, it's context dependent. Someone else might say it depends upon like general rules, but that's their view.
And in the sense of like what you should or shouldn't do in regards to other people, right? Because like if you, because I think if say you were the only person on earth, like there really is no morality, right? I mean, you're the only being left on earth. There is no morality. It's just you. Like, who are you going to hurt? Right?
I sort of disagree there because I think in cases where, let's just say there's some sort of empty world, right? There's a world where there aren't concrete objects like you and I that exist, right?
It's just
for
you.
me, I think
it's just you, right? It's just you and you alone.
Sure. So I think even in this world, I think it would still be wrong to just torture someone.
But who would you torture? Because it's just you. That's what I mean.
but that's, I understand that, but that's just a secondary question. The first thing is that I want to say something
I see what you mean. Okay, I see what you mean.
Even if there aren't any people, I think it would still be wrong to torture people.
That I agree
in something
with you.
like that.
Okay, let me rephrase it. I don't think you can't, if it's just you don't have the ability to make immoral or moral choices. Yes, the aspect of torturing somebody, yes, even in a world with just you alone, with no other objects or no other, you know, agents or beings or anybody, still wrong. You just can't carry it out because there's nobody to torture. So you cannot commit an immoral. That's what I mean. You can't commit an immoral act. But immorality would still exist. You just can't commit anything. You can't do anything immoral. That's what I mean.
Okay.
Yeah. This has actually been an interesting talk, and you're actually we actually, you know, you're actually more of an atheist than you are a believer. It's interesting. I mean,
funnily enough, I mean, I used to be agnostic atheist.
See?
Along a couple of years ago, but you know, times change.
Times change, man. Yeah. And because I mean, that's the thing. I got no problem with folks believing, you know, whatever. Okay. I got no problem with that. And that's why I asked you that rubber meets the road question. Like if it's influencing in, you know, so I would actually breathe a sigh of relief, but like if you're saying, my morality has nothing to do with my God. Actually nice to hear, because that's probably the thing that I worry about is, you know, whatever people believe in, if they are like oppressing people, or if it's influencing them to treat people differently but in a negative way, then that's where I get concerned. But that's that. Yeah, you know, we're good.
All right.
Cool.
So thanks for the conversation.
Yeah, it's a good conversation.
Really look into like Philip Clayton.
Yeah. I'll read more about. I've read like surface level of Clayton, you know, like enough to know his name and high level of what he's about. But yeah, I'll dig more into it. It's interesting stuff.
Yeah.
All right,
no problem. Well,
hey, Vaughn,
take care.
Enjoy the rest of your day. Thanks, man. So that was interesting. So, you know, we got this At the end, it's just intuition, and that's cool. That's fine. Hey, as long as he's not harming anybody, I'm good with it. Cool. It's the harm that that's where I draw the line. So, all right, we'll take one more. I got Jax in the queue. So Jax has been waiting patiently. I appreciate that. I know you've been wanting to come up, so appreciate you. Hey, how's it going?
I'm doing good. What about you, man?
Hey, doing well. Can I get your age and pronouns, please?
English is not my native language, right? I'm from the Netherlands.
Oh, okay. Pronouns meaning like he, she, it, they, them, her.
I'm a he.
He. Thank you.
He.
Okay,
Yeah.
Jax. Okay, fantastic. Okay, and then how are you? At least 18?
Yeah, I'm 33, man.
All right, fantastic. Okay, all right. Which God do you believe in?
So I'm a Muslim, right? And I want to say it was a really good conversation between you and the other guy in this live. I'm a Muslim, but I have my own way of thinking.
Okay.
If I'm saying it right, because I don't. The thing I don't like is like people try to understand things they can't understand, right? You know what I mean?
Okay.
So like the universe is so big and stuff, so we can't understand the unseen.
Okay.
So I'm as a Muslim, I believe we can't imagine how God looks, for example, in our faith.
All right.
And so I heard a lot of conversations like, is God this, or is God that, or is God, you know what I mean? So I'm really a person that believes we can't comprehend the unseen. It's too big. The force is too big for that, you know?
Okay. How do we know it's there?
How do I know it's there? Because when I was younger, I started realizing things. For example, I challenged myself to name one specific thing without a creator, for example. So I'm sitting in my room right now, and everything I see around me got a creator, a designer. And the only thing that's left, it's like the nature, the animals, the humans, you know what I mean?
Okay.
So basically, for me, it's everything got a designer, a beginning, a purpose.
Well, yeah, if I'm sitting in my room, mine and my wife's room, and I see my bed, the walls, the curtains, the blinds, the lights, yeah, I see all that. But now, if I look out the window, I see a tree. I see my wife's garden with the flowers, and I don't see creation there. So what about those things tell you they're created? Yeah.
Exactly. So there's only one thing left without a creator we can physically see in the world, and that's God.
Wait a minute. Hold on. I got lost there. There's only one thing we can see without a creator, and that's God?
Nah, the most things we can see got a creator, a designer. For example, Twitter X is made by Elon Musk. For example, all kinds of stuff
a lot of
like
things.
that.
Well, yeah, but exactly. A lot of things don't, like the sky, clouds.
That's God. That's God, bro.
But how do we know that's true?
You know what I mean?
Well, how do we know? Yeah. I mean, I hear this a lot, but how do we know that's true?
That's what I believe.
That's what you believe. Okay.
That's what I believe.
Okay. Well, but that doesn't make it true, right? Because I believe it's not from a God. I believe it's, forces of nature. So you wouldn't believe me. You would just automatically think, oh, well, trust is saying the truth. I would need to give you evidence of that. So how do you know, though, besides your belief, how do you know that like the clouds and trees and all that are from God?
So basically, it's more kind of a feeling that I got since my youth.
Feeling?
It's something internal. For some people, it might it's something emotional. You know what I mean?
Okay.
But the thing I like in the faith, because when I was younger, I started asking a lot of questions. So I didn't believe from home in Allah. I was asking questions for myself. Is there really a God? And at first, I didn't know that Islam, for example, goes through one door with science. I always used to think they are battling with each other, you know, faith and science.
All right. Now, how hard of how much of a hard line, or how closely do you follow the Quran?
I do a lot of sins, man. I do a lot of sins. So
well, is all of the Quran true for you? I know you began this, hey, I'm a Muslim, but I think of it differently. So I just want to.
Yeah, it's true for me. But for example, I believe prophets didn't have. They were like humans. They had a strong message. They came to every tribe, every nation, and that's it.
Okay. And what about
I don't.
No, go ahead. Finish what you were saying. Sorry.
I don't believe in flying humans or a human that's people call him God, but he gets crucified. It doesn't make sense to me. You know what I mean?
Gotcha. What about like flying horses? Do you believe in flying horses?
That's a great point, by the way. I believe it's imaginary sayings.
Okay. Well, because like it says in the Quran that Muhammad flew to heaven on a winged horse, on a flying horse, right? So
did
that happen?
So
yeah.
No, I believe it's an imaginary saying.
Got it. Okay, I see. So, and what about the hadiths? Are those true? Because I know some Muslims don't believe in the hadiths.
Yeah, a lot of Muslims don't believe in the hadiths. I believe hadiths are true, but you also have hadiths that are not true, you know?
Okay.
So
the hadiths about Aisha, are those true?
Well, they can be true because when I was younger, I heard like at age of 9. I also thought that's pretty weird, you know. But when I was digging more, and more. I came to I realized that in that time period, and still in the USA, in some states, still this day, I'm against it. I have to say I'm really against that shit, you know. But I found out that it was everywhere, man. It was like
sure, it's everywhere.
It was normal.
But I agree with you. It's wrong. Yeah, it's wrong. Well, normal doesn't mean moral, right?
Not for our time. For our time, I'm with you. I'm 100% with you. But if we go back through that time, people didn't know better.
Now, is Allah different now than he was then?
Allah gave us like he gave us brains, right? And he gave us also
he did.
He gave us the brains to go with time. So for example,
I'm asking you if he was the same now as he was then.
Well, like I said, I believe in the concept. I can judge. I can judge on the unseen. Like for me, I stand in it. I can judge in God because I can't even imagine how he looks.
Okay. So, because according to Hadith, well, you said now you didn't say exactly what about the Hadith you don't believe. So, what did Muhammad actually marry a 6-year-old?
To be honest, I'm not a scholar, and I didn't go that deep in that. It was 9-year-old, right? But you have a lot of historic.
He married her when
he
married her when he was over 50 years old and she was 6, and then they consummated the marriage when she was 9. He waited 3 years.
Let me set something up.
Yeah. Let's see if I still have the hadith. Oh yeah, look at that. It's Sahih. Where'd it go? There it is. Yeah. Yeah, there it is. I can put it up on the screen. It's Sahih al-Bukhari 5134.
Yeah, it was 9 years old, by the way.
Yeah.
And
she was 9 when he consummated the marriage, but so I'm just asking you if that was true or not.
Well, to be honest, my I don't go that far. I believe everything what happened is true, but I also believe the time period and what for example scientists say, like revisionists. Some revisionists say she was between 14 and 19 in that time base.
Okay, so a 50-year-old man marrying anywhere from a 14 to 19-year-old is okay?
In this time period, I'm against it. I would never let my daughter marry with something
I'm
even
with you.
40
My
years old
daughter's
or 30.
15. Yeah, no way in
Yeah,
no way in hell she's marrying somebody that
exactly.
old.
No way.
Someone
Yeah,
like
exactly.
around your age.
Yeah,
No.
that'd be that. Yeah, someone. I'm in my 50s, so that would be yeah. Like my son-in-law would be my no. No,
Yeah.
that's not happening. So
If
I'm
we
trying to
go
understand.
back in time,
All right. Mm-hmm.
if we go back in time, it was like you had tribes. They were like barbaric. You had humans that did
Gotcha.
such a large of sins and stuff, and Allah gave us brains to grow. It's
Okay.
not like the people he sent out of the book were like flying humans or some shit. And some people make them like flying humans. No, they came
Right.
with a really strong message and they influenced the world. We can't deny that they influenced the world.
Right. Now this is the prophet. This is Muhammad, peace be unto him, who had a revelation. Like this is Allah commanding him to marry Aisha, right? So why would Allah command him to marry Aisha according to these hadiths?
Well, how do you call it? The wisdom behind that is far from my imagination. Like for example,
Well, yeah, it's very far from my imagination too. I'm with you on that, Jax.
yeah,
That's why we're trying to make
yes.
sense of this. But see, this is the reason
So
I'm
if I,
not a
if
Muslim, because this
if I
makes no sense to me whatsoever.
Yeah, if
And
I go back in history, okay, you made this example, but we can't deny if we go back in history, there were a lot of things that were happening that our mind in this day of age
of course,
can get to, you
yeah.
know?
Yeah, but they're all wrong. Yeah. I'm just trying to understand though, if this is Allah, who you would agree is all knowing, right? All powerful and all merciful, because it says that so many times in the Quran. All loving, is all merciful, right? And all knowing and all powerful. How did Allah allow this? If Allah knew today that we would not want 50-year-old men marrying 15-year, I'm just going to take your age of 15 years old. If
Well,
we don't want men in our society marrying 50-year-old men marrying 15-year-old girls, how did Allah let this happen?
Well, like I said before, like I said before, I'm staying at the point like in this day of the age, it's weird. I would never let it happen.
Sure,
Not
this
only to
day
my
and age,
daughter,
yeah.
but also
I'm with
you know what I mean. But I have also a way of thinking. To be honest, I have a way of thinking. Like for example,
Okay.
trust but verify. He makes like a child, a creation, right? When she's younger, she gotta act like the father wants to. But if I make a machine, for example, and the machine doesn't do what I want, I'm gonna reprogram it to do what I want.
I understand.
And if I have workers in my company, if they don't behave, I have the right to send them. So I believe in a creator that got all power over his creation.
Okay, now Jax, if this company builds this robot, all right, and every 100 hours, so 99 hours, it works perfectly, but then on the 100th hour, this robot randomly kills somebody. Is that a good design?
Oh, so it's not a good design. So you're gonna do everything to make it a good design. So
who's responsible for the
saying.
design? Who's responsible for the design?
I get
Is it
what
the
you're
robot
saying.
or is it the designer?
The designer, but he made
There we
everything
go.
with free will.
Okay.
We believe in the concept of free will.
Okay, so but again, if this free will leads to suffering of people, I'm asking you, and this designer input this free will into us as part of the design. And we do bad things because of this free will. You know, you already said that if the robot, you know, kills people every 100th hour, it's the designer's responsibility. So I'm trying to understand how this isn't Allah's responsibility.
So, like I said, we have a concept of free will, and like I said, I don't believe a human can be full perfect. I don't believe in the concept. I believe that some bad things got to happen.
Can I ask a question?
To make better things happen.
Just for like an example, how would you feel if someone created a big, sweaty, gross guy and gave him free will, and put him in a room with a like a 6-year-old, and you like this sweaty, gross guy is like into 6-year-olds, and you gave him the free will, and you put the 6-year-old, you gave the 6-year-old free will too, or somehow, and you put them in the same room and said, "Go nuts." I mean, that feels like what God would be doing here. I think that's kind of.
She wasn't 6 because I can't see 6 over here. I got the evidence.
Sure.
In front of me. She wasn't
15.
6.
Call it 15.
15.
Well,
yeah, we can call it 15. Yeah, I mean, if you put them in a room together and say you guys both have free will, I mean, I think you know what's going to happen in the future. Do you think that the person who sets up that situation has any responsibility whatsoever?
No, like I said, and I'm gonna say it again. For me as a person, I'm totally with you. It can't come to my mind, you know. But if we take the historic books and we take all the things from the past, we can take like a couple thousand examples of these things happening. And I know what you're saying. If God got all the power, why does he does this? I know what you're saying. Like, it's weird that he does this.
My point is that the free will is not an excuse.
Yeah.
No, it's not an excuse, but I can't.
It's a very bad excuse. Yeah, it's a very, very weak
No,
excuse.
but the wisdom behind it, I can't understand the wisdom behind it. Because, for example, when I was younger, I had uncles of me, right?
Wait. You can understand the wisdom of Muhammad marrying a child?
No, I can't understand the wisdom. That's the whole thing. I can't understand the wisdom.
Okay, you cannot.
Yeah, I cannot.
So let me ask you this, in that sense. Then help me out with this, Jax. Because the Quran also says that we should follow Muhammad in all his ways. So does this include marrying a 15-year-old?
The biggest scholars in Islam, they say in this time of age we can do that. So the Islam is not for that. It's against it in this.
Okay, so we cannot follow Muhammad in all his ways. So then that's not true.
No, we can follow Muhammad in all his ways, but Muhammad gave wisdom to grow. Islam is based on growing. So if I see someone hurting you and the people accept it, I'm gonna do everything to stop it. You know.
Okay, so everything you can to stop it. I got you.
Yeah, people can learn from me when I stop it.
All right, so here comes chat, the button question. So if there was a button, Jax, that would identify all of the serial unalivers in the world immediately so that the FBI and, Interpol can go after them and catch them, would you push that button?
I really like this question because I've thought about this before. I would definitely push that button, but I know without evil there's no peace. So there's no test without negativity. There ain't no positivity. So I also believe in the concept of bad and good needs to happen in this world.
All right.
I believe in the concept.
So it sounds like Allah would not push that button.
No, because there wouldn't be a test if he does.
There would not be a test. Okay. So between you and Allah, who has done the morally correct thing?
Well, Allah, because I believe in the Creator, He does what He wants, and I'm grateful He gave me this world. I'm grateful for that. I breathe, I live.
You'd be doing the morally incorrect thing by pressing the button, is what you're saying. Like you would prefer to do the morally incorrect thing and defy Allah.
So you do the morally incorrect thing, yeah.
Yeah. But the world is not made like that.
I understand it's not made like that. What I'm saying is, because this is a test in itself. is to see how your morals line up with your God's, right? And we already have a diversion. You know, you're diverging. So you would push the button, your God wouldn't push the button, but your God is doing the morally correct thing. If your God pushed the button, would your God be doing the morally correct thing?
Yeah, for me as a human in this day of age, yeah, he would.
Okay, so no matter what, no matter which choice Allah makes, whether or not to push the button or to push the button, he's doing the morally correct thing.
In this day of age, yes. But if we go back like 1,000 years, it would be totally different, because we can't deny people were barbaric.
Okay. Hey, listen,
Exposing predators was not good back then.
Yeah. Hey, listen, Jax, I'm gonna cut this conversation short, but hey, I appreciate you coming up.
Yeah, thank you, man. Have a nice.
Have a good day. Thank you.
Yeah.
That was about my limit there.
Some cognitive dissonance there.
Definitely. Okay, so do I have? Okay, which is cyber and which is low? I can't tell the difference.
Well, you see, I can't even do my own fake voice.
See,
Shit,
you
did
have
I
to
accidentally bring up my second account?
You've got to learn. See, cyber, you've got to learn to do Loeb's voice.
Right. I just gotta learn my own speech mannerisms is what I gotta do.
Just speak normally. What the fuck, dude? There's another friend of mine. Oh my god. Another friend of mine. I do a pretty good impression of. We used to work at McDonald's together, and I would take orders in the drive-thru as him, and people would think that he was working when he wasn't. Like the customers that knew him and the people in the kitchen who would hear him through the speaker. And he started doing my impression. He would do an impression of my impression of him. And I'm like, Tim, what the fuck are you doing? Just speak normally. What's the matter with you?
Yeah, just speak normal, man. That's all you got to do.
So the first time I ever heard Timu Cyber down there doing my voice, I was like scrolling and I heard it and I'm like, did somebody screen record me? And did I say some nonsense that I'm
That's
being called out for right now?
Oh, right.
That is hilarious. You guys are hilarious. All right, I got to kick you down so I can bring my mods up, but appreciate you coming up. Thank you guys. See ya. All right. More mods. Where are the rest of the mods at? Okay, we got Peg, we got Jessica, we got Sunny. Hey guys, we got Forever Atheist. Is that who we got? Okay, so mods, thank you so much. You guys are awesome. It seemed really peaceful in chat today.
Yeah, it wasn't too bad.
Yeah, not too bad, huh? Yeah, it's pretty peaceful.
Yeah.
So you guys are doing a great job. Thank you. Appreciate you. And same with Pseudo V Science and Rainbow Ash. Rainbow Ash.
What'd she say?
Oh, I can't say it because then because then she would win again. So she's like one square away. She has 3 or 4 choices, but I can't just hand it to her again. I mean, I got to make her work for it a little bit, just a little tiny bit. But yes, big W to the YouTube mods, big W to the TikTok mods. You guys are amazing. Thank you so much. And thank you for keeping everything peaceful. Appreciate it. So yes, everybody, if you have some likes, some follows, some shares, some coins, some W's, whatever you can do to show appreciation to the mods, because they definitely deserve it. Yeah, this was a big W for the stream today. This was big. Yeah, it was feral the last day or so, and then it was kind of peaceful today. So, you just never know what you're going to get. So I thank you guys. Oh, what were you going to say, Jessica?
Thank you for the coins. Yeah, I was just thanking them there. The coins are trickling in. We appreciate you guys.
Yeah, definitely do. All right, so let's find a place where you guys can spend those hard-earned coins. We've got Crash X is on, Godless Engineer is on, Be Easy is on. Who else? That's who I got. Anybody else have any suggestions?
Nope.
Yeah, you had to hear the things in conversation. Mod saying it wouldn't count this time. Yeah. Well, you can hear it in chat too, but yeah, you have to hear it in conversation. So that's true, Rainbow Ash. So yeah, anybody have any suggestions? Because I'm good with any of those. We could do.
I always try to remember to go look before you actually add me up there.
Yeah, I know, right? I'm yeah, I don't always get a chance to look, but I am this time, and I'm just trying to see like who's on. But I would think, because I can't go into the lives right now because I'm on. I can't.
Right.
I can't see. But Samesies, yeah, exactly. But
yeah, we can't.
Well, let's see. Godless Engineer's doing his. I think it's for the line. How about Be Easy? We can raid Be Easy. Looks like he just started too. Yeah, Be Easy just started. So B-Easy. Let's go raid Be Easy today.
Sounds like a plan.
Okay, let's do that. So you guys know what to do. So TBV raid and Be Easy's live. And thanks everybody over on the YouTube side. You guys are great. And we'll see y'all in Be Easy's live. So other than that, have a great Thursday, and I'll see y'all tomorrow to wrap up the week. All right, take care, guys.
All right, see you tomorrow.
Good night.
Have a good night.